messed up. But anyway, what's up everybody? Hope you're doing good. It's been a while since I did a live stream. In this stream, we're going to be researching the fight between Glover and Jiri, main event of UFC 275. Just as a group, just as a community working together, looking at the strengths and weaknesses of both guys, how these two match up, trying to work out if there's anyone worth betting on this fight, what the over-unders are looking like, and if there's any strong positions for us to put our money. And obviously by working together as a group, we're not going to miss any key details, and as a group, using our wisdom of crowds, we should be able to come up with, you know, which one of these guys is more likely to win, and looking at the odds, which one of these guys is going to give us the better risk to reward ratio out of the two. So if you are watching this video after the fact on YouTube, just know that this is a live stream, a live research session where we're going to be kind of watching the footage of both Prochazka and Teixeira's recent fights, learn about their strengths and weaknesses, learn how they match up against one another stylistically to determine who has the best chance of winning. So this isn't a breakdown video. Sometimes I get people coming in the comments watching the stream after the fact just asking for a breakdown to keep it short. We don't know what's going to happen yet. We're going to figure this out together by watching a lot of footage on these two guys together, figuring out what the most likely outcome is here, and hopefully we could dig up a bet on this fight. So I'm also going to be doing more live streams in the next few days on the Weili Zhang versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk rematch, as well as the co-main event between Teixiera Santos and Valentina Shevchenko, which I feel could be a lot more interesting for betting than the odds makers have currently set the odds at. At the moment, you look at the odds, Shevchenko's a big favourite and Santos a big underdog. But I actually think this is at the stage in both fighters' careers where things could get very interesting. Shevchenko is in her mid-30s now, where she's getting quite old for a flyweight. She hasn't shown any signs of decline, but we know father time can hit you pretty hard at that stage in your career, and it's not like Shevchenko's really been tested any time recently. She's faced a lot of really low-level opponents who may have masked any slight decline she may have been on over the last few years. And I think Teixiera Santos is actually really good. She's in her prime, late 20s, making big improvements from fight to fight. And he's probably the first opponent Shevchenko's faced in a long time who can kind of match her physicality and athleticism. So that one's going to be a real interesting fight to research, even though, you know, the odds suggest Shevchenko should run through her. I wouldn't be so sure. Very much looking forward to digging into that one. So we're going to be researching those two fights over the next few days. But for now, in this one, we'll stick to Jiri and Glover. So now that's a bit of an introduction out the way. Please hit the like button for me, guys, if you want me to do more of these live streams. I'd really appreciate it. You'd be amazed. I'm amazed. I didn't even... Everybody, every video says like and subscribe. Hit the like button. Smash the like button. I'm like, yeah, whatever, like, do that, that'd be cool. I never realised until last week how much of an impact that has on YouTube rankings. Like, YouTube straight up said in, like, my analytics, my back end, because the number of people who have liked this video, we're showing it to way more people. I've never had that happen before or seen it, and it did make a big difference. So if you could bang that like button, man, I would really appreciate it. So yeah, we'll catch up on some comments now. Sorry to everyone on my website, man, that the stream's not going to work on there, but we can use Twitch and YouTube. What's up, Matern? Good to see you, mate. What is that? Yeah, Matern, that was a while back, right? Bringing back some memories for Matern when he first joined the site, when we used to do these live streams. Bloody hell, every day, man, every day. Nice one, Nicola Kobas, really appreciate it, mate. You're fucking legit as well, dude. Appreciate it, man. Patrick S. Chris is the money train. Thanks a lot, Patrick, mate. Really appreciate it. What's up, Parlons, dude? Hope you're doing good, mate. What's up, Eduardo? Hope you're okay, man. BS, I have one unit on Jiri, so curious to see what you say. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. My lean is definitely Jiri coming into this. When Jiri first came into the UFC, I didn't think he was very good because he didn't look that good in his fights in Rising. I thought he looked pretty low level in Rising, and then I thought he looked awful in his debut against Volkan Ozdemir. Just kind of sloppy, reckless, chaotic lunatic. But major improvement in his fight against Dominic Reyes. Way more refined, way better defensively, moved a lot better, so much more technical. And I'm looking forward to watching that fight back in the cold light of day, because from memory, I was super impressed with him against Dominic Reyes. I bet on Reyes to beat Prochazka because of how bad he looked in his Rising fights and his debut against Ozdemir. And we'll watch those fights together in this stream, obviously, and see the reasons why I did favour Reyes, back this time last year now. But so much has changed, man. Look at how Reyes' career's fallen off a cliff, and hype on Jiri is at an all-time high. So maybe that would be a really good fight for us to start with. Let's take a look at that fight between Jiri and Reyes, because I feel that fight is going to give us the best look at how Jiri looks, right? He's a young guy, going to be making big improvements from fight to fight. So that's going to be a really good place to start off with. So first of all, what we'll do, we'll take a look at the odds, take a look at the tail of the tape, take a look at any X factors on this one, and we'll jump right into the footage. So Jiri, pretty big favourite, average odds of about, say, 1.51, which is minus 196 for an implied probability of 66%. And the odds on Glover are around an average of 2.70, which is plus 170 for an implied probability of 37%. So when you look at these odds, right, I think most people's lean in this one is going to be Jiri. But the question is whether he's worth a bet at quite a big favourite. How many times have we seen Glover as the underdog and get it done against all the odds? Implied probability on Jiri, 66%. It's not terrible, but I'm wondering if Jiri's advantages in this matchup over Glover are going to be baked into the odds. We'll soon find out, man. So Glover is 42 years old, 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. And then for Jiri, he is 29 years old, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. Definitely some X factors to dig into there. The first one being Jiri is obviously 13 years younger than Glover, which statistically gives him an absolutely massive advantage over Glover. We know that the younger fighter wins around 70% of the time. That's 7-0 when there's a 10-year age gap in a fight. I don't know what percentage of the time the younger fighter wins when there's a 13-year age gap in a fight, but I'm guessing it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't have stats that go that high, but I'm guessing it's a lot. If obviously 10 years is 70%. So that does give Jiri a massive advantage, because we know Jiri is going to be making big improvements from fight to fight, and we've seen that. We have seen that. Even the version of Jiri we saw in the Reyes fight compared to his performance against Ozdemir was exponentially better, and there was only 10 months between these two fights. So, if he just improves at that same rate again, 1 year on from his fight against Reyes, I'm expecting Jiri to look even better again next weekend, and absolutely brilliant. Glover, on the other hand, 42, he's going to be declining significantly from fight to fight. Father Time is undefeated. And while Glover has kind of been relatively consistent in his performances over the last couple of years, he's still not the guy he used to be, right? Slow, reflexes aren't there anymore, can't read his opponent as well as he used to, can't take a shot like he used to, and obviously on the feet, he's a sitting duck. He's just not good defensively anymore. He's just not sharp enough to see those shots coming and get out the way. So both guys on opposite career trajectories, and Prochazka is also just very athletic, right? Very powerful, very physically imposing. He's so fast for a big guy. 6'3", 80-inch reach. He's going to be, slightly longer, slightly taller than Glover. And I think that 4-inch reach advantage is massive for someone like Jiri, because he does do a really good job of fighting long and using his length. We saw that, in the Reyes fight. I'm sure we're going to watch it in a bit, but my memory of the Reyes fight was Reyes couldn't get near Jiri because of how well Jiri moved and how well he used his length, which is something we hadn't really seen him do before. We'll see a big contrast between the performances of Jiri and the Reyes and Ozdemir fight, when we take a look at them together. But yeah, he did a great job of using his length, his footwork, his movement. So size and reach of Jiri, it's a big factor in this one. Do you know what? Aside from that, I can't really think of any major X factors on this one. Let me know in the live chat, guys, if you can think of any X factors that I'm missing out on this fight. Neither guy's taking the fight on short notice. This one's obviously been planned for a while. Not like either guy was brutally knocked out or took any major damage in their last fight. Let's take a look at where they've been training. Let's bring up their Instagrams. So Glover does his own thing, right? Glover does his own training camp in Cali, as far as I know. Kind of brings in guys to just work with him specifically. He's been doing that for years, so I'm guessing it's still the same. I'm guessing nothing's changed. He brings in guys like Wellington Turman to train with him. I'm guessing it's still the same. As for Jiri, where's Jiri been? So Jiri has travelled around a bit, right? I'm sure he's been at Tiger Muay Thai. That might be where he is here, or maybe like aka Thailand, I'm not too sure. It doesn't actually look like Tiger Muay Thai actually. Usually there's a lot more orange and black in the gym and on the mats if it's Tiger Muay Thai. So I don't know where he's been. Doesn't look like he's that active on social media actually. This was 6 weeks ago. So it looks like 6 weeks ago he was training back in the Czech Republic. Picture there obviously with Cejudo at the Fight Ready gym. That was back in February. But yeah, it looks like for the most part he's been training in the Czech Republic, which I don't think is a good thing, man. I don't think it's a good thing. Obviously iron sharpens iron. And he's not really going to be getting in the best level of training, you know, in small regional gyms in the Czech Republic or wherever this is, Bangtao Muay Thai. Yeah, I suppose this looks like the Muay Thai gym he's been training at, because you can see like the mats are the same colour as that first picture we looked at. Oh, is that she fights in the UFC, right? I forget her name. Don't spot any. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, there's a Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang's in the front there. I forget this girl's name. I forget this girl's name. She fights in the UFC as well. I don't recognise any other UFC level fighters there. Anyway, let's get into some fight footage. I'll catch up on some comments now. We'll get into the fight footage, man. Let's do it. So what have we got? BP is saying thoughts on Michael Morales versus Ramiz Brahimaj, UFC 277. I don't have a strong feeling about that one yet, mate. I'm gonna have to do some fight research on that one. Thoughts on Derek Lewis versus Sergey. He's fighting. BP hasn't put his surname in, right? Hasn't put his surname in. I think Derek Lewis is fighting Sergey Pavlovich, if I'm right. So sure, I saw that floating around on Twitter somewhere. Sergey Pavlovich. Yeah. Do you know what? It's actually a very difficult fight to predict, because even though Sergey Pavlovich has had 16 pro fights, we still don't know a lot about him. If you check his record, every single one of his fights from the last 5 years has ended in just a few minutes. So even though there is a decent amount of footage available on Pavlovich, when you go back and watch his fights from Fight Nights Global, which went to a decision, not a lot happens. Like, he's really tentative, really passive. You know, like, barely anything happens in those fights. Him and his opponents kind of just chip away at each other in friendly kickboxing matches for 3 rounds. So they don't really tell us a lot about him, because we don't want to assess Pavlovich's skill set on these 2 matchups where we did get a good look at him, because they were such a long time ago. He might have improved a lot since then. So it's tough, man. I really don't know anything about Pavlovich, and these fights don't tell us a lot. Hopefully, best case scenario is this fight against Lewis turns out to be competitive, goes the distance, we get to see Pavlovich tested in lots of different areas, and then when we get to research his next fight, we'll have a much better idea of what to expect from him. Because the thing is, if he comes out and just knocks Derek Lewis out in 2 minutes, or if Derek Lewis comes out and knocks him out in 2 minutes, it doesn't tell us anything, do you know what I mean? We're still in a position where we don't know anything about this guy. So yeah, lack of footage on Pavlovich, man. What's up, Jonathan? Mate, Jonathan said, just got here, but I remember your last prediction on Jiri, and it was horrible. Well, it's interesting, mate, which way you look at fighting, right? So, on one hand, you could say that I called the Dominic Reyes fight completely wrong, right? Because I favoured Dominic Reyes in that fight, and he obviously got destroyed, right? Jiri looked amazing. But it really depends on how you approach betting the sport and how you view the sport, right? The way I look at it is making money betting on MMA is like a constant process of foraging for new information. So just like we said with Pavlovich, we don't have tons of information on Pavlovich to form strong opinions on how his fights are going to go. And with every fight that a fighter has, we learn more about them, right? So when we do this research session, if you stick around, what you're going to see is the exact reasons why I favoured Dominic Reyes to beat Jiri Prochazka. Because when we go back and we watch Jiri's fights in Rising and his debut against Ozdemir, you're going to see that he looks really bad, man. Like, Jiri looks very, very bad, and he didn't against Dominic Reyes. You're going to see a huge contrast in Jiri's performances pre-Dominic Reyes and during the Dominic Reyes fight. It's like I said at the beginning of the stream, Jiri is someone who seems to be improving at a really, really rapid rate, because there was only 10 months between these two fights, and if you stick around and watch these fights with us, you're going to see that the version of Jiri that fought Reyes is nothing like the version of Jiri that fought Ozdemir. So if you're taking like a really simplified view of the sport, and you're dealing very black and white, and you're only focusing on outcomes, you'd be like, man, Allsop is awful at picking fights, awful. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He said Reyes was going to do this, this, and this. He said Jiri was really bad. And then I watched that Dominic Reyes fight, and Jiri fucking blew him out the water. You can for sure look at the sport like that, but it's much better to look at the position we were in and the information we had to work with before that Dominic Reyes fight took place. It's so easy after a guy gets smoked and dominated to come out and say, man, you're awful, you got that wrong, you didn't say anything correct about that fight. But could you do that beforehand? And if you could, tell me how, right? Show me what footage you looked at to help you come to that conclusion. You can't just fucking wiki cap, look at wins and loss records and be like, oh, you know what I mean? Jiri, loads of first round knockouts. He's really dangerous. He's really powerful. It was obvious he was going to do this to Reyes. No, man. Like, break down the Ozdemir fight, technically. You know, go through his fight against King Mo where he looked super average, and talk to me about what I missed out, what I did wrong. And do it before the fight takes place, because it's easy to play captain hindsight after. Tell me what I did wrong specifically, because when we go back and watch these fights, I think you guys will kind of see why I was not very high on Jiri at all when he first came into the UFC. I thought, and I still think, and I'll say it again when we watch it, I think he looked awful in his debut against Ozdemir, and we're going to watch that fight together in a moment. But remember, man, what we do is all about foraging for new information. Every time a fight takes place, we get loads more information to work with. So now the Dominic Reyes fight has taken place. We know what Jiri's really capable of, and we can use that to make a better betting decision now against Glover, right? That's just the fucking process, man. We learn more after every fight. What's up, Nordakus? He said this fight's going to be insane. Don't discount Glover. All he has to do is close the distance, and if he gets a hold of Jiri, it gets him down. Oh boy, that is going to be a problem with betting this fight, Nordakus. Well said, man. The problem with Jiri is I don't think there's going to be that much footage on his grappling, which is kind of nuts because he's obviously had over 30 pro fights. You'd think there would be a lot of footage available on his grappling for a guy that's had that many fights, but I don't think there will be. He's so fucking dangerous on the feet that he smoked so many guys in round one. I just don't think we're going to see a lot of his grappling. And I remember, I've watched his fight against King Mo a few times. King Mo didn't really try to take him down. You know, sometimes you get those really weird performances from King Mo where he doesn't fully commit to the takedown. I think that's what we're going to see, man. So, yeah, in terms of assessing the probability of Glover taking this guy down, it might be difficult. But what we do know is he's big and powerful and athletic and explosive. And it isn't easy to tie guys like that up and grab a hold of him. And because Glover's so slow and stiff, I think he could really struggle to get this one to the ground. But we will take a look at it, man. Nicholas Kobas saying, I feel like it's not worth the bet on Jiri because I feel the odds are set based on hype, just like Kamzat Gilbert. Maybe, man. I gotta be honest, I think Kimeev is amazing. I'm not sure if Jiri is amazing, but I think Jiri is improving at rapid rates. And I think Jiri's power and athleticism is going to be a problem for a lot of guys to deal with. But we'll see, man. We will see when we get into it. Blackleg saying, feel like Glover's going to get cracked here. He's too hittable to trust as a bet. That's the thing, man. Jiri looked so dangerous against Reyes. I know where you're coming from, man. What have we got? What have we got? What have we got? Nice one, catching comfort, mate. Thanks a lot, dude. Eduardo Brajes is saying the only way for Glover to win is by submission. You know there is another way that Glover could win, though. What I will say, not sure if you guys watched my breakdown video that I put out for this week's card, right? The Volkov versus Rosenstrike card. In that breakdown video, I broke down the matchup between Mozarov and Alonzo Menefield. When we were talking about Mozarov, we were saying that there's not a lot of footage on him going past round 1, because most of his fights he either gets killed in round 1 or gets a big knockout in round 1 himself. So we haven't really seen Mozarov tested going into the second and third round. But guys like Mozarov, who rely a lot on their power, their athleticism, their explosiveness, usually guys like that are really prone to adrenaline dumping and gassing out if you can just weather that early storm. Occasionally you will get a unicorn that that's big and muscular and athletic and can go hard for way longer than you'd expect him to, like a Kamaru Usman. That guy's gas tank just doesn't make sense. But generally speaking, guys like Mozarov, they burn themselves out pretty quick. And I would say, obviously, with how many quick finishes Jiri has got, it's difficult to say what his gas tank is like. But Jiri also does fit the profile of a guy who will burn himself out and not have a very good gas tank. And I say that because you just think of the biology, man. 6'3", he's absolutely huge. He bounces around a lot on his feet and uses a lot of footwork, so that burns through a lot of energy. He's big, powerful, and explosive. That big body, those big muscles, they take a lot of energy, man, and you burn through a lot of energy fast with a style like Prochazka. Think about Johnny Walker, right? Johnny Walker was smoking so many guys early, in that first round, and then as soon as guys started to make it into the second and third round, he started to struggle very bad. Now, obviously, Jiri is a lot more technical, a lot more skilled than Johnny Walker, 100%. However, Johnny Walker is another guy that is big, athletic, explosive, powerful, and used to bounce around a lot, right? Light on his feet, lots of movement. I think the one way Glover could cause Jiri a problem here is if he is somehow able to weather the early storm, drag Jiri into the second and third round, you'd have to then favour Glover quite big, based on Jiri's fighting style. But because all of his fights end so fucking quick, we don't really know anything about his gas tank. And even though the King Mo fight did go into round 3, from memory, not a lot happened, man. It was like a dead fight where, King Mo just kind of allowed Jiri to completely dictate the pace. He didn't make Jiri work very hard. Yeah, Jonathan, I think you're gonna be surprised at how bad Jiri looked against Ozdemir in particular when we go check out these fights, man. He didn't look great against King Mo either. But obviously the King Mo fight was a long time ago, and Jiri was a lot younger then, so he's bound to have improved. Let's have a look. What have we got? Catching Comfort is saying everyone's there, make Guru after the fights take place. Yeah, I know, man. That's what bugs me. Nobody comes and say, hey, you clearly missed this in footage, or, look at this fight where this happened. You should have known that the fight was going to play out like such and such because of this thing that happened in a past fight. No one ever says stuff like that before the fight takes place. It's always after, right? But it drives me crazy, man. It drives me crazy. In people's defense, they're just leading into the Reyes fight. There wasn't that much footage available on Jiri. And that was part of the reason why I took Reyes as an underdog. Because I was looking at it like, Reyes is proven, right? He's gone the distance with one of the best light heavyweights of all time, John Jones, and in my opinion, beat John Jones. I scored the fight 3-2 for Reyes. This Jiri guy's largely unproven. Odds on Reyes are good. Let's have a little gamble, do you know what I mean? It's like going swimming without getting wet. You got to gamble, Losing's part of the game. Is what it is, man. You can't make money betting like a pussy. You got to roll the dice a little bit, and that gamble certainly didn't pay off. I'm rolling the dice big time this weekend. I've only got 2 bets so far on this card. JJ Aldrich and Dan Ige, big gambles. I expect them both to lose. I'm fully expecting to go 0-2 this weekend. But you can't make money betting like a pussy. Gotta fire when there's value. And you know what? There probably was value on Dominic Reyes, all things considered. Irrespective of how the fight played out, Jiri was unproven and looked awful against Volkan. Was this such a bad bet to roll the dice on Reyes in that even money odds range? You know, when in most people's eyes he beat John Jones, right? The greatest light heavyweight of all time. Not a terrible bet, man. You know, not a terrible bet in my opinion. 13 District is saying the best bet here is fight not to go the distance. True, man. I'm guessing that is very unplayable odds, though. Yeah, the odds are not good, man. Not good. Although I agree with you, dude. Very, very unlikely this one goes the distance, right? Blackleg is saying, who do you guys give an advantage the later the fight goes? Has to be Glover, man. We know that no matter how bad Glover gets hurt, the guy has got no quitting him. He's got a legendary gas tank. Glover, no matter what you do to Glover, no matter what pace this fight is fought at, Glover can go hard for 25 minutes. Generally speaking, maybe Jiri is a unicorn that can go hard for 25 minutes too. But usually guys like Jiri, big, muscular, explosive, loads of footwork, loads of power, usually they burn out pretty quick. So you'd have to go Glover the longer the fight goes. What's up, Mitchell O'Neill? Hope you're doing good, mate. Eduardo saying Glover took Yan like nothing and got the submission, and Yan is good, or is supposed to be good. Yeah, the problem with Yan, though, is Yan's takedown defense and ground game's always been bad. Like, remember the Gustafsson fight? Gustafsson literally took him down easy and fucking handled him. You know what I mean? He handled him, man. Catching Comfort saying, I'd easily say 8 out of 10 times this fight doesn't go 5 rounds. Yeah, I'd agree with you there, dude. Jonathan saying, Jiri talks about training cardio a lot for his style on his YouTube channel. I do get it, mate, but I wouldn't put any weight on that at all, mate. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't put any weight at all on that, man. Like, fighters are going to say all the right stuff, tell you what you want to hear. And I'm sure Jiri is working his ass off in the gym. I'm sure Jiri is eating the best diet imaginable. And I'm sure Jiri is, like, doing more cardio work than fucking Glover, right? I'm sure Jiri is killing himself doing cardio every day, and I'm sure Jiri's working harder than ever. I'm sure he's on the cleanest diet ever, but it doesn't mean anything, because what we know is big dudes with big muscles that exert a lot of energy through, you know, footwork and movement and loading up on big power strikes and throwing big spinning shit. We know guys like that tend to burn out pretty quickly. And that's just a general rule. So the way I approach betting is, when I don't know what a guy's gas tank is like, again, it comes back to what I said earlier on. You've got to make the best decision possible with the information we've got available. We are not going to be able to work out what Jiri's gas tank is going to be like in this session, because the footage isn't going to be there to answer that question. So then you've got to look at most likely outcomes, right? And then make a decision based on that. Jiri could be a unicorn. He could be a cardio machine. He could have better cardio than Demetrius Johnson. Like, he could. He absolutely could. But you don't want to make betting decisions on the exceptions to the rule. You don't want to make betting decisions on the unicorns that defy the odds. You want to make betting decisions based on most likely outcomes and the trend. And the trend is guys like Jiri, who are 6'3" with an 80-inch reach, that bounce around a lot in the cage and throw spinning shit and flying shit and load up on big power shots. Guys like that generally don't have very good gas tanks because they're just too big, right? They're trying to fight like fucking flyweights. They just can't. They're too big. They don't have the gas tank to do it. It's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, right? It might be impossible. It might actually be impossible. I can't think of anyone as big as Jiri with his style that is able to sustain that style of fighting for very long. I can't think of anyone. So maybe it is impossible. Maybe Jiri breaks that mold, right? Maybe Jiri is the first. But I don't want to bet on unicorns or the exception to the rule. I want to bet on most likely outcomes and the trend. The trend, most likely outcome, is Jiri's gas tank probably isn't good. And until he proves us wrong, that's probably the best thing to, you know, assume if you want to bet his fights. Yeah, Jonathan, mindset, fight IQ, game plan, strategy, all that stuff. You know what I would say? That's probably like the most important factor of all. In my live betting group every week, what you find is so often it doesn't even matter for them, like for a lot of fights, if you sit down and you watch, you know, a UFC card and you've fully researched every fight and you know the fight is inside out and you Hawkeye every matchup, right? A lot of the time, it doesn't even matter who has the better skill set. It doesn't matter who the better striker or grappler is. More often than not, fights are decided by who's got the better game plan, the better strategy, and the better fight IQ. Because if you get to the UFC, most guys are reasonably good at everything, right? And so then it comes down to the old GSP thing, where who is going to be better at exploiting their opponent's weaknesses. And you know, that's what you find. So yeah, mindset, fight IQ, all that stuff, man, super important. Very, very important. But then, if you're kind of alluding to Jiri having a strong mindset, I would disagree with you. I actually think Glover wins in that department by an order of magnitude. If we're talking about strengths and weaknesses, fight IQ, game planning and strategy, I mean, Glover's got Jiri dominated in that department. Because if we think about it logically, right, Jiri's debut against Ozdemir was like awful. It was the worst game plan and strategy ever. He just decided to come out and play Rock'em Sock'em Robots with Ozdemir, who we know can crack, and he took so much damage in that fight, got wobbled a few times, and he didn't need to. He could have used his footwork, his movement, his length to just chip away at Ozdemir from a safe distance. So that awful game plan in his debut against Ozdemir says to me that he perhaps doesn't have the fight IQ to compete at the top of the division yet with smarter guys who are going to pace themselves better and not put themselves in as much danger. And on top of that, when you look at his performance against Reyes, it was amazing. It was amazing. He looked amazing. But the fight also ended in 9 minutes, and it was scheduled for 25, right? The way he comes out the gate sprinting, bouncing around, flying shit, spinning shit, is he going to be able to keep that up for 25 minutes? If Jiri paced himself better, he held back a little bit, picked his shots a little bit more, I would be far more bullish on Jiri's mindset and strategy and game plan and fight IQ. But I do think there's a really good chance this guy is going to potentially be a glass cannon who is a nightmare early. But if you can weather that early storm, I think you could probably do pretty well against him. The problem is no one's been able to hang in there with him for long enough for us to find out. So on my part, that's just an assumption. And that is to some degree why I took a speculative gamble on Dominic Reyes. And Dominic Reyes got destroyed. But can Glover weather that early storm? He's built a career doing it, but obviously Jiri is fucking dangerous early. So it's going to be difficult. Very, very difficult, man. Simple kind of man. What is up, dude? So he's asking if I believe Gareth Bale will join my hometown club, Cardiff. You know what? I think there's a real good chance he will, man. I do think there's a very good chance. Like, Cardiff is a really nice city. Like, we're quite a friendly place. And Gareth Bale loves the city. You know, he's got, like, a giant house here. All his family's from here. His girlfriend is from here. He owns, like, restaurants and bars in the city centre. And let's be real. Gareth Bale doesn't need to earn any money from football. You know what I mean? Like, if he moved back to Cardiff and played for Cardiff City, he could stay active. He could help his hometown club. You know, he'd be able to live at home with his girlfriend, you know, driving distance from his parents, and all his businesses, his golf course, his bars, his restaurant, they're all in Cardiff. So he doesn't need to earn money from playing football. Obviously, Cardiff City can't afford to pay his wages, but does he need to earn wages of football anymore? Probably not. Like, that guy's paid, he's set for life. So I think we have got a good chance of signing him, because I think it's a similar situation to Craig Bellamy. You know, going back like 7 or 8 years ago, Craig Bellamy was in a similar situation to Gareth Bale, where he had this really successful career at Man City. You know, he won the Premier League, everything with Man City, but he was from Cardiff, and his family was from Cardiff. He had a house in Cardiff, and he just wanted to move home. So he just came back to Cardiff for a few years. I could definitely see Bale doing the same thing, man. 100%. Catching Comfort is saying, do you think Charles Oliveira has done enough at this point to make you wonder what would happen if he ever fought Khabib? Mate, I'm going to be straight up with you. I'm straight up with you, right? I will show you, man. I will show you something now. I think that when Makhachev and Oliveira eventually fight, I think people are going to realize what this t-shirt is all about, right? Can't find a good quality one. They're all kind of blurry. There we go. I think when Oliveira fights Makhachev, people are going to see what's up with this. Not only do I think Oliveira would lose to Khabib or lose to Makhachev, I think it will be utter domination. Utter domination. I think once Makhachev or Khabib gets a hold of Oliveira, Oliveira is done. He's going to get ragdolled. Like these guys, Makhachev would toy with Oliveira on the ground. I know Oliveira's performances are impressive. His record's impressive. He's got really exciting wins. He's exciting on the ground. But there is a big difference between MMA grappling, where fighters understand position and have that crushing tight grappling control, and guys with offensive ground games, offensive jiu-jitsu like Oliveira. You know, guys like Oliveira are very, very nasty. If, you know, they jump on your neck, trap you in a submission, they get you back, they're a nightmare. But if you never let them get to those positions, you can neutralize them very, very easily. Like you know, it wasn't that long ago that we saw Kevin Lee easily holding Charles Oliveira down and controlling him from top position. Lee probably would have beaten Oliveira easily if he hadn't gassed out. What you'll see from Makhachev and Khabib is they will just dominate Oliveira on the ground, because they will never give him an opening to take a dominant position. He's never going to get to their back. Ever. He will never get to their back. He's not going to be able to do anything to him off his back either, because they'll just tie his legs up from that top position they like, where they kind of triangle the legs, or they'll move the side control half guard where he can't use his legs to throw up arm bars, triangles. It fucking isn't happening, man. I think people will be shocked at how badly Oliveira would get dominated against Khabib or Makhachev. Even like an Arman Tazrukian would give Oliveira absolute hell. Like, trust me, people are going to find out real quick the difference between BJJ and the level of combat sambo that guys like Makhachev and Khabib have. Yeah, I think he pulls a bit of a Fabrizio Verdum, Jonathan, or Damian Maia as well, right? These really high-level BJJ guys, like Verdum did it his whole career, Maia did it his whole career, where they will go down so easily, hoping they'll jump into their guard. I think it's definitely a bit of that, Jonathan, for sure, man. Definitely. Right, let's get into some footage. We've spoken so much about Jiri. We should definitely start with him. And we can blow through his last two fights pretty quickly. I think we should do that. So let's start off by taking a look at his fight against Dominic Reyes. So what I'm going to do is we will put the link for Fight Pass into the live chat. So click that for me if you've got a Fight Pass subscription. I'll grab you an ESPN Plus link as well. And the way this is going to work is we sync this fight up together right at the very start of the very first second. And then we watch it together. I kind of commentate, talk about what I'm seeing. And then at the end, we kind of all have a vote based on what we've seen, you know, and talk about who's more likely to win this one, who gives us the better risk to reward ratio. So I'm guessing most people are going to be watching this on Fight Pass. If you are, sync up that first round for me, which starts at 2 minutes and 38 seconds. I'm not sure what time it starts on ESPN Plus, because ESPN Plus is banned in the UFC, not banned, is blocked in the UK. Let's go through these comments quickly. Hey, what's up, Asteroid, mate? Good to see you, man. What's up, Shroom Power? What's up, Martha? What's up, Orange Pilled? What's up, Matern? What is up? What's up, Dizzy? Good to see you, mate. What's up, Taz? Good to see you, man. Yeah, that is true. I think when we watch it back, Reyes did drop Jiri briefly, right? And then shortly after, lying that spinning elbow. Alright, man. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. Alright, let's get into this footage. So what I'm going to do, we'll count us down, do a 5-second countdown. I'll hit start, and then the clock that you see here on this countdown clock, I'll match up with the clock on the fight. And we'll watch this together. So let's get it going. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And I will switch camera as well. Is that better? There we go. Man, I would love to be able to do the... You know what? I stopped live streaming last month. I used to live stream my research for every fight on Twitch. But I wish I could actually show the footage. And then with these live streams, I would do them all. I'd go back to streaming my research for every fight if I could show the footage. It's just not the best viewing experience. We've all kind of got to watch this separately. Especially if you guys don't have, more than one monitor, that kind of thing. It's absolute murder. I was thinking for a long time, like, how to get the best out of the viewing experience, but it's just hard. So this is the first issue I've got with Jiri, which is what you're seeing now, and it's what got him into trouble against Ozdemir. Notice how Jiri is running forward in straight lines with his chin up high and exposed and his hands down low. He was doing this against Ozdemir and taking big damage. He did this against Reyes, but for the most part, wasn't made to pay the price. I think that the reason why he wasn't made to pay the price against Reyes is because historically, Reyes has got a kick-space style of striking. Reyes doesn't have the best boxing. And so when a guy's running forward in straight lines with his hands down low, chin up high, obviously you want a boxer, right? You can stand their ground, fire back and land big counters. But the fact that Reyes is more of a kicker means he wasn't really able to punish Jiri for his poor striking defense. Whereas when we go and watch the Ozdemir fight, we'll really see Ozdemir make him pay. And you can really see here, man. I mean, look at that. Jiri is stood in front of Reyes. He's not moving his head. Look at this. Jiri is not moving his head. He stood flat-footed right in front of Reyes. It's just Reyes' boxing is so bad. He doesn't have the accuracy to catch him. You can see Jiri's takedown defense. Jiri's striking defense is really bad there. Against a more accurate counter striker, he would have got dinged, a good few times in that first round. Let me just turn this off. There we go. So there we see Jiri give up a really weak takedown. Reyes is in half guard here. So now we'll see how Jiri works his way back up to his feet here. I know that the fight doesn't spend long on the ground. I can't remember what happens. Okay, Reyes tries to advance in the mount. Jiri does a really good job of using that mount advancement to create a scramble to pop back up to his feet. So good job there from Jiri. But obviously initially was looking real weak off his back. And someone like Glover is far more methodical in how they're going to advance in the mount and work through positions like that. I'm telling you guys, Jiri's striking defense is not good. He's literally coming in straight lines, chin up high and exposed. Now don't get me wrong, he's fucking dangerous offensively. But as soon as this guy faces a decent counter striker, he's going to be at big risk of being knocked out. He just doesn't move his head. Look at that. He's coming forward. Head is not moving. And Reyes is missing these counter shots by a fucking whisker. Like by a fucking millimeter. So straight away, earlier in the breakdown video, I was saying how much Jiri has improved from the... Look at him. He's getting dinged with that left hand from Reyes. He's eating another big right hand there. What I was saying earlier in this breakdown video is that Jiri has improved exponentially from the Ozdemir fight to the Dominic Reyes fight. Now, I'm not sure if he has. And this is why fight research is so important. Because it cuts through all the bullshit and it shows you what is true. I'm not sure if Jiri has improved that much. I just think Ozdemir may have had the boxing to exploit this weakness in Jiri, whereas Reyes doesn't, because Reyes has that kick-space style of striking, whereas Ozdemir is more of a boxer. Jiri's striking defense looks awful here. He is literally stood flat-footed in front of Reyes, not moving his head, winging these big wide hooks. And what beats wide punches? Straight punches right down the pipe, right down the middle. Someone like a Jamal Hill, with that crisp boxing, those straight punches, that accuracy, someone like Jamal Hill would light this guy up like a fucking Christmas tree. Like, this guy is sloppy. Very, very sloppy, man. And I'm watching this, I can see why now. This is why fight research is so cool. Because when you place bets and you lose bets, at the time you're like, damn, did I fuck up? Did I get that right? Did I place a bad bet? But what's great is, when you go to research that fighter again in the future, you get to go back and do all that work again, all that fight research again, and you get to see whether or not you made a bad bet or not. And I can tell you right now, I did bet Dominic Reyes to win this fight, and he obviously struggled bad. But looking at how bad Jiri's striking defense is here, I can see exactly why I took a gamble on Dominic Reyes. Okay, Reyes wasn't able to exploit the fact that Jiri's extremely reckless and bad defensively. But it won't take much to put a guy like Jiri away. We saw him get wobbled a few times against Ozdemir. We'll watch that fight in a moment. And here, he is a sitting duck to the knockout. He's so reckless, so bad defensively. This is crazy. I honestly knew he was reckless because of the Ozdemir fight. But I thought he looked a lot better against Reyes. He doesn't. It's just Reyes isn't able to make him pay for it. So what we'll do now, let's sync up round 2. So round 2 on Fight Pass starts at 8 minutes 48 seconds. And David's saying someone like Ankalaev's a great counter striker. He could ding him bad. I agree with you, man. There's a lot of guys in this division that are going to be able to punish Jiri for being this reckless. You named him, man. Ankalaev, Jamal Hill, probably the best example I can think of, because Hill's got that crisp, straight punching, straight boxing, straight punches, right, with his boxing. That's what I meant to say. You know, you look at guys like, even like a Thiago Santos. You know, it's surprising to see how reckless Jiri is, man. Very, very surprising. Let's catch up on some comments. Let's see what we've got. Let's see. BP is saying, thoughts on Brandon Moreno against Kai Kara France. I'm assuming it is Brandon Moreno, right? It's not Brandon Royval. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure it's Brandon Moreno against Kai Kara France. It's a fucking great fight, man. Yeah. It is. Is it 5 rounds or 3? It's going to be a 3-rounder. Wow, it's a 5-rounder. Why is it a 5-rounder if it's not a title fight? Vacant. Why is it for a vacant title? Have I completely missed some big news here? Why is it vacant? Why is Fig not the champ? What am I missing? Why is it for the vacant title? In a 5-rounder, man, I do like Moreno in this fight, just because Kai Kara France's takedown offense and ground game isn't great. It did look a lot better against Askar Askarov, but Askarov does slow down quite a bit as fights progress, which makes his offensive wrestling less effective in the second half of the fight. Moreno's obviously a cardio machine that can grapple hard, spam takedowns for 5 rounds, no problem. So I think that Moreno's grappling will be the difference in that one. And wasn't that long ago that he beat Kai Kara France, you know, only you know, two and a half years ago, something like that. And it wasn't like it was a close fight. Moreno completely dominated. So you gotta go with Moreno there again, pretty confidently. Why the fuck are they fighting for the flyweight title though? Fig's the champ. What happened there, man? What happened there? BP is asking about Ankalaev against Anthony Smith. I think Ankalaev destroys Smith real bad. Bad. Super bad. I think that is a one-sided devastation of Smith. I think Ankalaev murders him. Eduardo Baracas, what's up, dude? My thinking is that Glover doesn't want to trade with Jiri. Glover only wants to take the fight to the floor. Yeah, you'd think so, man. The problem is we don't have much information on Jiri's takedown offense, but he did give up a very cheap takedown there against Reyes, so it doesn't tell us a lot. But then, you know, with how dangerous Glover is on the ground, if we are assuming Jiri's the kind of guy that will burn himself out pretty quickly with the pace that he fights at, you know, if Glover gets on top of him early, it's an absolute fucking nightmare. It's an absolute fucking nightmare for Jiri if he gives up an early takedown. Catching comfort, Jamal Hill has a great chance to be champion soon. Yeah, I agree with you, man. Do you know what? I thought Ankalaev was the boogeyman at light heavyweight, but seeing how reckless Ankalaev was in his fight against Thiago Santos, I think Jamal Hill could be the dark horse at 205 now. I am very, very confident. Look, at the end of the day, flash knockouts can happen. On the night, anything can happen. But if Jamal Hill and Jiri fought 10 times, I'm very, very confident Jamal Hill smokes Jiri 7 or 8 times out of 10. Maybe on the night, Jiri might, you know, on a one-off, Jiri might catch him with some crazy spinning, flying shit and knock him out. But if both guys show up and perform to their full potential, I think Jiri is in a lot of trouble against a guy like Jamal Hill. Catching comfort saying, I don't think anyone's on his level. I know he lost to Paul Craig, but it's a fight. Yeah, it's you know, the Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill fight is exactly what we've been talking about throughout this entire stream, right? Just like Jiri versus Hill. Maybe Jiri lands a spinning elbow inside 3 minutes, right? The Paul Craig Jamal Hill fight doesn't tell us anything about what Jamal Hill's capable of, because if Jamal Hill and Paul Craig fought 10 times, Hill might win 9 of them. You know what I mean? On the night, he got caught in a bad position. He didn't show enough urgency to pop back up to his feet when Craig was attacking off his back. That was a big mistake. Error in judgment, bad fight IQ. But Hill's likely learned from that, and he wouldn't make the same mistake again. So, you know what I mean? I don't read too much into it. Zero Miedo, what's up, mate? Yeah, this will be going straight on to YouTube when it's finished processing all that kind of stuff, mate. What's up, Randy Garcia? Hope you're doing good, mate. BP is asking about Nunes and Pena too. Do you know what I mean, mate? I don't think... I gave Pena a reasonably good chance of winning the first fight. If you watch my breakdown video for that fight, I talk about how Pena could have caused Nunes problems in that fight, and the way she caused the problems was pretty much exactly what happened. So I don't think anything changes about the rematch. I think Nunes' gas tank has been really bad throughout her whole career. It's just kind of flown under the radar because either she's got her opponents out there very early, so her gas tank hasn't been tested, or her opponents have been so intimidated by how dangerous she is, they didn't engage her enough and force her to work hard enough to actually slow down. But I think anyone that makes Nunes work hard is going to result in her gassing out really quickly. So I don't think anything changes about the rematch. It is just a question of whether Pena can survive early. Because at the end of the day, Nunes still hits like a truck. She still has legit one-shot KO power. And Pena is still a sitting duck on the feet. She still has, bad striking defense. And Nunes is a nightmare. So exactly the same fight as the first one. It all comes down to whether Pena can survive early. Exactly like this fight, right? Can Glover survive early? If Glover survives the first 2 rounds, Jiri is probably in a world of trouble. Same as Pena, right? If she can just survive early, Nunes is in a world of trouble. But it isn't easy surviving early against fighters as dangerous as Nunes and Jiri. That's the problem. Alright, let's get into this second round. It starts at 8 minutes 48 on Fight Pass. This is Jiri against Reyes. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go. So, obviously in round 1, we saw Jiri was very reckless, very sloppy, coming forward in straight lines, hands down low, chin up high, but Reyes wasn't really able to make him pay for it. He missed on landing a few big hooks by a very fine margin several times, but just wasn't able to connect, clean and hard and as frequently enough to get some respect in there, stop Jiri from coming forward or to really hurt Jiri. But Jiri does get dropped in this second round, and we'll see how that occurs. So, earlier in this breakdown, we were talking about how guys with Jiri's style and Jiri's size are usually not able to fight at a really high pace for very long without slowing down. And look at what we're seeing early in the second round. Completely different body language from Jiri. In round 1, he was kind of bouncing around a lot, throwing a high volume of strikes. Now he's much more flat-footed. His pace has slowed, his volume has slowed, his body language has slowed. Doesn't have that same kind of energy to his movement, which is a subtle sign that he probably is feeling pretty tired here. And even though he's still going to be capable and dangerous in round 2, you've got to think, if this is how Jiri's body language looks after 5 minutes, how does it look after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes? You know what I mean? And as we go into that 3rd, 4th and 5th round. As Reyes attacked him, look at how he kind of backed up and took a big deep breath. Whereas in the first round, he would have just swarmed Reyes. And again, look at that tired body language. After they have that exchange, Jiri takes a big deep breath and backs up. So we're paying real close attention to the breathing patterns of Jiri here, his body language, his movement. Because those are the clues, those are the subtle signs of a fighter getting tired. And Jiri, you can see, is tired here. Which isn't surprising. Like I say, you'd expect him to be 6'3", explosive, athletic. He's exerted tons of energy. All that explosiveness is going to come at a cost. Again, look, big deep breath. Explodes on Reyes, lands a big combination. takes a big conscious deep breath before coming in for the next big explosive attack. Now he's getting away with it because Reyes isn't offering up any resistance. Reyes isn't firing back. Reyes isn't getting respect in there. And Reyes is also tired. So Jiri knows if he keeps pushing, Reyes is going to be more tired than he is, and he can break him in there with pressure and volume. You see, it's a big left hand there. Legs go wobbled. And you know Jiri's hurt bad there because he shot a takedown. Guys like Jiri are not going to be shooting takedowns unless they absolutely have to. But what I was saying is, you can tell that Jiri is tired here, but he's getting away with it because Reyes isn't able to, get any respect in there and kind of take control of the fight. He's not able to make Jiri pay for the fact he's getting tired. I think he's bad defensively, although he did just land a nice clean shot to wobble Jiri. The issue with Jiri's style when you face someone like Glover is that if he pressures Glover like this, Glover's not going to go into a defensive shell like Reyes is and just kind of circle away and allow Jiri to take control of the fight. Glover's going to be looking to take Jiri down, and then Jiri's going to have to exert more energy to defend that takedown. He's going to be trying to tie Jiri up and put him in the clinch and wear on him and grind on him, which is going to exert, force Jiri to exert more energy to work out of those positions. So it's not a good sign that Jiri is looking a lot flatter here in round 2 than he was in round 1. Because even though this cardio is probably enough to get away with this style in 3-round fights, is it going to be enough in 25-minute fights? Right, 5-rounders. At this rate of slowing down, how will he look in the 4th and 5th? Especially against a guy like Glover that we know won't get tired. Especially if Glover is able to get a takedown or something early and wear Jiri down in that 1st round. It's an interesting fight, man. Very interesting. And what I am really interested to look at now in the cold light of day is how Jiri looks against Ozdemir. Because like I say, I was under the impression that Jiri had improved a lot, but now I don't think he has. I just think that Ozdemir was more capable of exploiting Jiri's defensive weaknesses than Reyes was able to. So very nice spinning elbow finish there from Jiri. You could see that Reyes was kind of done anyway, exhausted. Jiri did an amazing job of breaking him down with pressure and volume. But we know you're not going to be able to break Glover down with pressure and volume. You're going to have to put Glover away. Because Glover's a dog that's also going to keep coming, right? He won't take a backward step. So it's a very, very interesting fight. Hey, what's up, Dane? Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing good, dude. What is up, mate? So let's get into. We've also so we had a good look at Jiri there. We've also talked a lot about his fight against Ozdemir in this stream. So let's go watch it now, man. So this was the fight. This was, well, I'm not going to say it was only this fight that made me bet Reyes to beat Jiri, but it was a big part of it, man. I looked at how reckless Jiri was in this, how much trouble Ozdemir caused him on the feet, and I thought, you know what, I reckon Reyes can get this done. So let's take a look at it now in the cold light of day and see exactly how Jiri looked. So there's the link for Fight Pass. I'll grab you guys the ESPN Plus link now and let's get into it, man. Looking forward to watching this back because it's a great fight. It's a very entertaining fight, but obviously two big boys with big knockout power just literally play rock'em sock'em robots for 6 or 7 minutes. So this starts at 1 minute 33 on Fight Pass. So that's 1 minute 33 on Fight Pass. Sync it up for me, guys. 1 minute 33. Let's get into it. And let's get it going. Sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So now, let's play really close attention to how Jiri looks here compared to Reyes. His footwork, his movement, the range of strikes that he's throwing, his breathing patterns, his body language. And you can kind of see here a little bit of what I was talking about in that second round as to why I could spot Jiri slowed. Look at this first round. He's light on his feet. He's springing forward. He's throwing kicks. He's switching stances. He was doing all that in round 1 against Reyes, but he didn't do any of that in round 2. There was no stance switches. He wasn't light on his feet. He wasn't springing forward with those karate-style counters anymore. against Reyes, all that ended in round 2 because he didn't have the energy to do it anymore. So we know the longer the fight goes, the less effective Jiri becomes, because all those springing forward karate style counter attacks and the stance switching and the spinning attacks, the footwork, the movement, that's what makes Jiri so dangerous, because he's very difficult to read when he's coming at you with a flim flam. When he doesn't do all the crazy flim flam, nowhere near as difficult to read, and so that makes him a lot less dangerous. So even though his cardio is it's not terrible, we know he's going to be less effective, significantly less effective with every round that ticks by, just because in every round that ticks by, he's going to have to abandon some of the stuff that made him great, because he's not going to have the energy to execute it anymore. So in this fight, I would actually say his attacks are... His attacks have definitely improved against Reyes. Because even though against Reyes he was still coming forward in straight lines like he is here, the difference with the Reyes fight is when he was exchanging, he wasn't kind of ducking his head off at weird angles where he could kind of run into a big counter hook or a big head kick. Here, his head movement's very erratic, right? Against Reyes, there was no head movement, which isn't good. But in this fight, he's overcommitting with his head movement, which means skilled strikers can set him up for big counters and kind of work him on the big shots. So neither look from Jiri is particularly good in either of these fights, but he looked a lot more confident against Reyes, whereas here the me looks a little bit timid and unsure of himself. And not timid in the sense that he's afraid to exchange, he obviously isn't, these boys are going to war, but he's ducking his head off in weird ways and just doesn't seem to have that experience or fluidity to his striking. He looks a little bit green here, a little bit... I don't even know how to describe what I'm trying to say. He's not very refined here. It's very raw and loose and wild. It's not technical. His striking doesn't flow. It doesn't all join up. His defense doesn't work with his offense. He's not reacting to what Ozdemir is doing. He's not reading Ozdemir. He's kind of just blitzing forward and just throwing preset combinations, as opposed to reacting to what Ozdemir is doing and trying to pick him apart. You can see he's eating a lot of shots here, man. Look at that. Didn't see that combination coming from Ozdemir. Very slow to react. Ozdemir comes forward, lands a clean right hand, and then because Jiri doesn't kind of try and back up or slip the shot, Ozdemir follows up with more counter strikes, and everything lands, man. Everything in that combination lands. And look after that exchange again. We're 4 minutes into the first round. Big deep breath from Jiri. Very big deep breath from Jiri. Another indicator that this is a guy that is likely to slow down as the fight wears on. And again, what are we seeing now? 1 minute from the end of round 1, what are we seeing? No footwork, really. No movement, no stance switching. Again, he's become flat-footed. And all that footwork and movement that makes him elusive and difficult to read has gone away. And we're seeing Ozdemir club him, with these big power hooks. Because Jiri's just not moving his head now. He stood right in front of Ozdemir playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots, which is exactly what he did against Reyes. The difference is Reyes has got a kicks-based style of striking. He didn't have the boxing to exploit the fact that Jiri's boxing defense is really bad, whereas Ozdemir does. And that's probably something that I overlooked when I was researching this fight, right? I should have identified that Reyes probably wouldn't be able to make Jiri pay for his poor striking defense as much as Ozdemir did. But when I researched that fight, I remember thinking, you remember the knockout that Reyes landed on, the knockout shot that Reyes landed on Chris Weidman. Look, I know Weidman isn't anywhere near the level of Jiri anymore, right? But the accuracy, the timing, the speed, the power at which Reyes delivered that counter shot when Weidman was kind of pressuring him up against the cage. I remember seeing that and thinking, man, if Reyes can deliver counter shots like that when under pressure, he's got a very good chance of sleeping Jiri. Because Jiri comes forward in straight lines, hands down low, chin up high. And we've seen Reyes catch Weidman in a similar sort of way for getting overly aggressive and making a similar sort of mistake. But obviously Jiri's a tough guy that can take a shot, and Reyes didn't really land anything too clean or too hard early. But you can kind of see why I liked Reyes in this fight. I can anyway. Watching this, I don't regret betting Reyes at all. Would I bet Reyes now? No, because Reyes has declined a lot. But going into this Jiri fight, we didn't know that. You know, hindsight is a wonderful thing. And I could definitely see why I bet Reyes, looking at how easy this guy is to hit. So, let's catch up, see if we got any comments. Let's get into this next fight. Blachowicz against Glover. So what I'm looking at here is, obviously we know how dangerous Jiri is, right? We've just seen that even though he's reckless, he's bad defensively. What we do know is that he can take a shot, right? He's tough as nails. Even though Jiri may not be what appears to be the most refined, experienced type of striker, we know that he's very quick at recovering when he gets hurt. We've seen him hurt against Ozdemir, hurt against Reyes. He's immediately bounced back. For that reason, what we really need to look at here is how likely is it that Glover's going to be able to survive early. Because what we have seen in Jiri's his last two fights is that he's come out the gate very hard. And he's got away with it twice. You know what I mean? He's been able to get the finish in the second round of both his last two fights. So he's not one of these guys that has come out overly aggressive and, you know, any time recently being forced to made to pay for that recklessness, right? Jiri might be one of those guys like a Johnny Walker. Again, I'm comparing him to Johnny Walker because there are a lot of similarities in terms of his size, his explosiveness, his style. But obviously Jiri is a lot better than Johnny Walker. But I use that as a comparison because remember what we saw from Johnny Walker in his first few fights in the UFC. He would come out the gate super aggressive, smoke dudes in a couple minutes, and then when he was kind of made to pay for that because he'd burn himself out very quickly and then struggle like he did against Krylov, or, you know, get finished himself or run into a little bit of trouble getting hurt bad like he did against Ryan Spann, then we saw him make big changes where he went back to the drawing board, fought a lot safer, a lot smarter, and a lot more cautiously in his last two fights, right? Like his fight against Thiago Santos. Jiri's not going to be at that point yet because it's not like he's been made to pay for his recklessness, you know, his issues defensively. He's much more likely to come out the gate just as hard against Glover as he has, you know, in his last two fights. Having said that, he wasn't as aggressive back in Rising, which was something that threw me off when he made his debut. I didn't expect him to be that aggressive. We'll take a look at some of his fights in Rising in a bit. But I wouldn't expect Jiri to come in different here, because he hasn't been made to pay for the weaknesses he's shown. So I would expect him to come in as usual. So what we're looking at is how vulnerable is Glover going to be early on. That's what we'll take a look at here. How's his defense look? You know, is he able to take a shot? We'll have a look at all that stuff. And again, it's going to be difficult to assess how these two guys match up when it comes to grappling, because there's just not going to be a great deal of footage available on Jiri's takedown offense and ground game. Although we will take a close look at this King Mo fight and see where it shows us. But from memory, I don't think it shows us a lot. So let's get into it. Let's sync it up, get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, let's go. Let's get into it. This is round 1, Glover Blachowicz. And we'll see what we've got. Let's go, let's go. Round 1. So you got the high boxing guard from Glover. So Glover snatches a single leg really quickly and then immediately transitions to the double leg. Now this is, I think, the problem that Glover is going to have against Jiri, right? That takedown entry was pretty good, but at the same time, Blachowicz was quite flat-footed, and just like in Blachowicz's fight against Rockhold, because he was expecting the threat of the takedown, Blachowicz was much more concerned about stuffing that takedown, neutralizing the threat of the takedown, than kind of punishing Glover for that entry. So there's quite a lot to unpack in that sequence, because Glover did come forward a little bit stiff and upright, where he would be very vulnerable to counters, but Blachowicz wasn't thinking about countering him. Instead, Blachowicz backed up, just like he did against Rockhold, and he was more concerned about getting his back tight to the cage, where he could start to dig for underhooks when Jan would shoot in on him. Or when Glover was going to shoot in on him. But then Glover still got to the double leg off the single leg and was able to complete the takedown and drag him to the ground. The problem with sequences like that is that I don't expect Jiri to, and this is where it goes back to what Jonathan said earlier on about mindset and fight IQ. I don't expect Jiri to, and I could be completely like misjudging Jiri here, but I wouldn't expect him to like be that cautious in the face of Glover's grappling. I would expect him to, instead of like Jan, where he kind of backed up, was looking to get his back tight to the cage, use the cage to base defend the takedown. Instead of him doing that, I think he's more likely in that situation just try and explode out of that position and look to take Glover out. So while Jiri may not be as focused on takedown defense, he's going to be a hell of a lot more dangerous in sequences like that, because Glover is quite stiff and slow when he comes forward. Now, obviously Glover's chipping away at Jan from top position, holding him down pretty easily, but we know Blachowicz is pretty weak off his back. He has been his whole career, and he's not really making much of an effort to get back up to his feet here. He just go into the closed guard, allowing Glover to chip away at him from top position. Jan's not making any effort to get back up to his feet here at all. David is saying, at the same time, you gotta wonder how reckless Jiri will be if he's worried about the takedown, which he wasn't really against Reyes and Volkan. He might change it up for this fight. Yeah, you are right, man. I just think when you look at Jiri, he seems like the kind of guy that I feel is just wild and reckless. And I would be surprised if he changed for this fight, because he's had so much success with that style, scoring so many early knockouts before the UFC, so many round one finishes. It worked against Ozdemir and Reyes. Usually fighters have to suffer losses before learning from their mistakes. But it will be really interesting to see how Jiri approached the King Mo fight. So obviously King Mo poses a big threat of the takedown as well. And so it will be very interesting if Jiri was more cautious against King Mo. I mean, this round is not really telling us a lot. Obviously, we know Glover's got a really heavy top game anyway, but this round wouldn't show that because Blachowicz hasn't made any effort to get back up to his feet. You only see the strength of someone's top game, right, when the guy on the bottom is making an effort to get back up. That's not what we're seeing here. Alright. So sync up round 2 for me. So round 2 starts at 9 minutes and 1 second. So this is round 2. Joey McBride is saying, I think each fighter's biggest strength is their opponent's biggest weakness, which is why I like the under here. But I'm interested to see if we can find more on Jiri on the ground. Yeah, that is a good point, man. Definitely both guys' strength is the other's weakness. But what under were you thinking of, Joey, man? We looked at, obviously the odds on fight doesn't go the distance. That's not playable. But were you thinking about one of the other unders? See, what the problem with the unders, right, is we don't really know what Jiri's ground game is like. So if Glover were to get him down, we don't know how capable he is going to be of defending himself on the ground. So the under 1.5 rounds, that is a tricky one. Because say Glover's able to have a lot of success with his grappling early, maybe Jiri will be able to defend himself on the ground just fine. And then as soon as you go to like under 2.5 rounds, the odds start to get really steep. So like 1.53 on the under 2.5 rounds, that it's not it doesn't get me excited. You know what I mean? And then obviously under 3.5 is unplayable. Well, is it though? Right? Is it? Is it? You're still getting, almost or you are getting like almost, you're getting more than a 30% return on your money. But you know how I feel about playing heavy favourite odds on MMA, man. Is it conceivable that Glover could kind of lay and pray Jiri for 3-4 rounds? It's super unlikely, right? Yeah, Matern saying the odds on the under are unplayable. HLB Commerce saying once it gets to the ground, this game over. I don't think Jiri's takedown offense is good enough. All Glover needs is one takedown. Thing is though, man, Jiri keeps surprising me, He keeps surprising me. I don't want to write his ground game off because he kind of makes his top game work, He gets away with his recklessness, his bad defense on the feet. So who knows what he's capable of doing on the ground. And I will say with Jiri, the way he created that scramble to pop back up to his feet against Dominic Reyes was really smart. Like, he played the trick where he kind of looked super weak off his back. Right, Jiri looked like a complete fish out of water off his back, like he didn't know what he was doing. And Reyes took the bait. Jiri was so weak off his back, Reyes thought, I'm going to take mount here. And the second, not even the second, like the millisecond Reyes goes to step over in the mount, Jiri creates that scramble and explodes back up to his feet, which would suggest, Jiri knows what he's doing on the ground, man, So I wouldn't write him off. He did look very weak off his back when Reyes took him down, but then is that because he was playing possum? And he wanted to kind of, trap Reyes a little bit, right? So you could beat him in the scramble. What's up, F Google, mate? Hope you're doing good, dude. F Google is saying, I think you're overestimating Jiri's energy expenditure. Jiri paced himself a lot in that Reyes fight. He does load up a lot, but it's not like he is spazzing around. We talked a little bit about this with the Reyes fight, right? What I would say about Jiri is, he might be one of these guys that's really good at being the hammer, but not so good at being the nail. And again, it's all guessing. Like, we haven't seen the footage to know either way. But I agree with you. Like, Jiri's output held up pretty good, right? In that Reyes fight, continued to attack with quite a high volume. But where it gets dicey for a guy like Jiri is when guys like I gotta stop saying Jiri because we don't know yet. He could be able to fight like that for 25 minutes. But what you'll usually find is when you've got a guy like Jiri that is big and muscular and explosive and powerful and throws a lot of volume and spinning attacks, flying attacks, all that kind of stuff. Sometimes, quite often they can do it if they're allowed to dictate the pace of the fight. So if they're allowed to dictate when they attack, if they're allowed to dictate when they can kind of ease off the gas, if they're in complete control of everything that's happening, they can get away with it. But guys like Jiri can often struggle a lot when they face opponents who will not let them dictate the pace, that will take the fight to them. So I give you an example of that Reyes fight, right? In round 1, Jiri sprinted for 5 minutes. He put it on Reyes big time for that first 5 minutes. But then if you remember, at the beginning of round 2, Jiri didn't do anything in the first minute of round 2, right? So you spot signs towards the end of round 1 that Jiri is starting to get a little bit tired. But he's completely dictating the pace, right? He's taking the fight to Reyes. Then at the end of round 1, he's obviously got a minute to recover. And then at the beginning of round 2, not a lot happens. So he gets another minute and a bit to recover. So now he's completely dictated the first round, and he's had pretty much 2 minutes of good recovery time. Obviously, he's exerting a bit of energy at the beginning of round 2, but nothing major, right? Reyes is circling on the outside, and Jiri's kind of just, stalking him around the octagon, but not really letting his hands go. Where a guy like Jiri can really start to struggle is when he faces guys that don't let him dictate the pace. Because what you're likely going to see from a guy like Jiri is he's going to attack, and then he's going to ease off the gas and recover. And then he's going to attack again, and then ease off the gas and recover. And he's going to attack again. Guys like Jiri fall into trouble when people don't play that game. When they face guys who don't give them those breaks. So that when Jiri attacks and then he wants to ease off and take a break, if his opponent doesn't play that game and they keep coming forward and forcing him to engage, force him to exchange, force him to defend takedowns, that's when you can see a guy like Jiri burn out fast. And I'm not saying he will, but that's what you got to be mindful of. So when I'm watching Jiri and I'm saying, look, he's getting tired, he's slowing down a lot, he's burning out, it's because I can see what might happen against Glover. Because there's no fucking feeling out process in that first minute of round 2 against Glover. Glover's probably going to be driving him into the cage, beating up on him in the clinch, working with takedowns. That's where the fight gets a little bit different. Like, styles make fights. And like I say, Jiri could be a unicorn, man. He could prove me wrong. Maybe he's a cardio machine. But guys like him usually aren't. And we have seen some clues in those fights to suggest he's not. Joey McBride is saying, don't forget, Jiri was bad fight IQ, guillotine attempt away from losing to Reyes, still hurts me. It's true, man. It is true. Who knows what could have happened if Reyes hadn't jumped on that guillotine, right? Hot and Crispy saying, I don't know, dog. I feel like that man Jiri gonna hit Glover with some ancestral power. He's big and scary, right, man? Big and scary, mate. But I guess when we're doing these sessions, right, when we're breaking down fights, it's always just important to remember what the goal is. We're not trying to determine who's more likely to win. We're trying to determine who gives you the better risk to reward ratio, right? And where Joey is saying earlier on, the strength of both guys is the other's weakness. We know that, Glover has probably got a better gas tank, can outwork Jiri, probably has a big advantage on the ground. We know early on Glover's going to be in a lot of trouble because Jiri is crazy explosive, powerful, fast, accurate, dangerous on the feet. If we know both guys have got huge weaknesses that the other could exploit, who gives you the better risk to reward ratio, right? Is it Jiri, where for every $100 you put at risk, you get 50 back? Or Glover, where for every $100 you put at risk, you get 170 back? It's not necessarily about who's more likely to win. It's about who gives you the better risk to reward ratio. Because we've seen it in these big fights recently, right? Rose was a lot more likely to win against Carla. Right, it would have been hard pushed to find anyone giving Carla a chance of winning that fight, and Rose is in a similar odds range to Jiri. Rose lost. Obviously, any fighter can lose. The point being, with the odds on Jiri, the odds on Rose, we saw the odds on Rakic. When you lose a bet on Jiri in this odds range, if you're betting level stakes, you've got to maintain a win rate of over 70% to be profitable on this type of bet. So it is dangerous territory to get into betting fighters in this odds range. There's probably common sense for most of you. I'll just go through really quick. Say you bet on, 4 fighters in the 1.50 odds range, which is minus 200, right? And you bet on Rose Namajunas a few weeks ago. Rose at 1.50. And you bet on Rakic at 1.50. You bet on, maybe Jiri at 1.50. Say you bet level stakes on all of them, right? You would have gone on, minus 1, betting 1 unit on Rose, right? You would have gone minus 1 on Rose. You would have gone minus 1 on Rakic. Say Jiri wins, right? And you make 0.5. You bet a unit on Jiri, you get 0.5. The problem is, say you bet on Rose and Rakic because you felt super confident that those two would win like I did. I thought Rose and Rakic would win easily. I thought they'd absolutely smoke Carla and Jan. But I didn't bet them because you got to let the odds do the work for you, right? Say you bet on Rose and Rakic. You're now down 2 units. And in order to just break even, you've got to win 4 bets in this odds range just to break even. Say Jiri wins, you're still down 1.5 units. You've got to win another 3 bets to break even. You know, you've got to win 6 bets to get back in profit, and then hope you don't lose another one. So the problem with betting fighters in this odds range is, you know, they are going to win the vast majority of the time. That's why they're big favourites. But the problem is, in order to be profitable on bets in this odds range, you've got to win these bets a big majority of the time as well, which is a difficult thing to do with the chaos of MMA. So what I always say is, when you are looking at fighters in this odds range, in order to bet fighters in this odds range, they have to have pretty much no way to lose. Because with their implied probabilities being close to 70% and needing a better than 70% win rate to churn out any kind of meaningful profit, you can't have any major risk factors with fighters in this odds range, or you're just not getting a good risk to reward for your money. And we've already seen some pretty big risk factors on Jiri. Potential gas tank issues, very reckless, you know, very bad defensively on the feet. Probably going to be in a lot of trouble if Glover gets him down. So while I do agree with everyone, Jiri is definitely more likely to win. He's younger, he's dangerous, explosive on the feet. Glover's going to be in a lot of trouble early. At the same time, Jiri's only got to make one mistake in round 1, walk onto a big counter right hand or slip and end up underneath Glover, and it completely flips the fight on his head. You know, if Glover gets his fight to the ground and racks up 4 minutes of top control in round 1, how confident are you going to be that Jiri gets it done in the 2nd, 3rd or 4th? You know, when you've placed the bet on him as big favourite, right? It's tricky, man, right? It's fucking tricky, man. Like, that's why I say in the breakdowns every week, it's not about who you think is more likely to win. It's who gives you the better risk to reward ratio. And if you look at Glover, there's so many issues with Glover, so many ways he can lose, but there's so many ways Jiri can lose as well. So you're probably better off just going with the underdog if you want to bet the fight, you know? That's where I look at anyway. GR, what's up, mate? GR is saying Glover's an experienced veteran, methodical, great recovery, great heart, great grappling, and probably gets it done in the later rounds. I like that, GR, mate. The Hot Crispy says, my first time ever in Vegas, I had Nunes as the last leg of 2 9-fight parlays that would have paid out almost 15 grand. If I had Pena, it legit would have been like 50 G's. Jesus, mate. That is unlucky, man. I'm not really a parlay guy. I don't really bet many parlays, but I hear horror stories like that, man, and unlucky, dude. Very, very unlucky, mate. Unlucky, mate. You know, that was surprising. Like, when I did the breakdown of the Nunes versus Pena fight, I said that if Pena could weather the early storm, Nunes would likely gas, and Pena would do really well late on. What surprised me, though, I didn't see coming, was how fast Nunes fell apart. Like you said, as soon as she hit a few clean, hard jabs, the wheels come off, and that's not like Nunes. Do you know what I mean? Even in her fight against Kat Zingano a long time ago, when she gassed bad, you know, she still dogged it out. You know what I mean? She still hung in there. When she gassed bad in the first fight against Valentina and hung on, you know, at the very end to grind out that decision win. It's tough, man. You know, it's the way she just fell apart is shocking. Didn't see that coming. Man, the internet's brutal. Yo, Belal's beak, chill out, man. Why you gotta be so harsh? Dude just missed out on almost winning 15 grand. There's no need to, like, dig the knife in, mate. Like, we all make mistakes, you know? All make mistakes with bets. The internet is a savage place. We've dealt with some savagery in the live chat tonight, man. Everyone needs to chill the fuck out and be cool, man. Be cool. Everyone just needs to chill. You know? Nice one, Joey. Cheers, mate. Appreciate that, Joey, mate. What's up, Hilty? Good to see you, dude. What is that, mate? What is that? "13 District. What's up, mate? Hope you're doing good. 13 District is saying, I lived in England. Didn't you just go to the bookies and get a ticket? They don't even ask you for ID, passports, or did that change the issue with accounts?" So I make the majority of my money live betting MMA, which obviously you can't do in a bookie. But if you do bet in bookies, which I don't, because there's no real need to, for me personally, you can bet on brokerages, you can bet on exchanges with pre-fight bets. Like I say, the majority of money I earn is from live betting MMA, which you can't do in bookies. But I do think when you bet in bookies, they still, if you like placing big bets, they still ask for you, like, your details. They like record you on the system. I don't think you can just walk in with a bag of cash, bet like 10 grand on a fire, no questions asked. I'm pretty sure it doesn't work like that, but I don't know. Maybe it's changed, maybe it hasn't. In the last sort of 18 months to 2 years, I started using Asian brokerages. So place most bets, and then I'm not sure my stream's just cut out. No, it hasn't. So yeah, man, I use Asian brokerages. Obviously, the liquidity on exchanges on European sites like Betfair Exchange, BetDAC, Smarkets, all that, it's not good on MMA. What I do like about Asian brokerages is they've got like 5 or 6 different sites on there with their own max bet limits. So you can, on the Asian brokerages, you can play, or the Asian brokerage I use, you can place bet on each of the individual sites. So like, this site will have their own max bet limit, this one will, this one will, this one will. So you can place bets on each individual site, and then, because it's a brokerage, it's not like a betting site. Like if like on most, not all betting sites, right? Most betting sites, if you bet their max bet limit, they won't let you bet again. Some will. Do you know what I mean? Some will let you do it. Like Bookmaker, I think, let you do it. The American ones are better at this. The ones in Europe, generally, once you reach the max bet limit, you can't bet anymore. But on brokerages, you can. So what will happen is, you reach the max bet limit on one site, the odds will probably drop like a point or two. You can hit it again, keep doing it. I know some American sites are like that. Bookmaker does that. But it's back in the day, before like the US gambling market's trying to go more legit, right? Back in the day in the UK, you could open sites on American betting sites no problem, whereas now you can't. And like I say, there are probably ways around it. Do you know what I mean? There are probably ways around it, but I don't want to do the workarounds, because when it comes to doing the withdrawal, if they ask for documents I can't provide, it makes the fucking withdrawal process dicey. Like, I might not get my money, so I've never risked it. Never gone down that road, man. What have we got? What's up, Eli Rush? Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing good, mate. Eli Rush saying, you are truly the best programmer out there, man. Mate, I wish that was true. If that were... Eli, thanks for the kind words, mate. But if that were true, I wouldn't be sat here on a Friday night talking to you guys. I would be retired long time ago, smoking some fine cigars, do you know what I mean, on a yacht somewhere. But I am working towards it. Like, I am dead fucking serious, right? I am deadly serious, guys. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. Like, I'll show you guys. For about a year now, I've been like betting on football semi-seriously, and at the beginning of this year, I decided to get really serious and start tracking performance on my website, and I am dead serious about football betting, and I know I can crack it. Like, every month, I feel myself getting better. Literally every day I'm learning, and it's brutally difficult. Obviously, it's like one of the most difficult, well, people consider it to be one of the most difficult sports to crack in the world, but I have cracked it for sure, man. On some leagues around the world, I'm hitting a win rate of above 70% over a decent sample size as well. But it's early days. I've only been doing it for a few months, and I am dead serious. So I am not the best pro gambler yet, man. Hopefully, like, one day, if I can crack football, I will. And like, 15 units since the beginning of the year. Like, it's nothing like this, like, fucking groundbreaking, but it is 15 units on one of the most difficult sports to bet in the world. And I've made so many mistakes. Like, I've fucked up so much since the beginning of the year. Like, I've made huge mistakes, like huge mistakes, which I won't make again, because I've tweaked and I've learned from them. So, like, you see this huge explosion in profit here, and then literally gave almost all of it back the next month. This is because in this month, the very beginning of the year, I came up with a strategy that worked, like, really good. Obviously, I made 10 units of profit that month, absolutely smashed it. But then I got overly aggressive, and I took that strategy that worked really well on, like, the top leagues in Europe, and I applied that strategy to betting leagues all around the world. Literally, I was betting everything from like the Korean third division, fucking Venezuelan Premier League, the fucking Colombian second division football, Primera B, and you know, the strategy that worked really well at the highest level of football didn't work well on lower level leagues where you're dealing with players that don't have as much conviction in front of goal. And I got absolutely destroyed, gave almost all the profits back. But I talk about the fact that I've cracked football is because, like, I know I'm not going to make that mistake again. You know, I know what strategies work on different leagues and what don't. And every month I'm learning, tweaking, getting better, experimenting. And I know I will do it, man. It's just going to take some time. So, yeah, hopefully, thanks for the kind words, Eli. But I'm not there yet, mate. Long way to go. Long way to go, man. But I will say this. I'm fucking a bit of a beast at UFC live betting. I just wish the max bet limits were a bit higher. Like I said, I would have been a millionaire a long time ago if there was decent liquidity on UFC live betting, but there's not. Like, even you look at like my brokerage that I use, my bet, you know, exchanges, the liquidity is shit on there. I think max bet limits on my brokerage is like £600 per live bet on the UFC, and then the odds only come up in between rounds. So, you know, if the opportunity's not there to bet in between rounds, you can't bet. And then it's hard getting the betting anyway, because the way a brokerage works is, like, they act as a middleman, right? So you place the bet on the brokerage, and they try and place it for you on the site that you can't open an account with. They have to do it for you. So you think what UFC live betting's like, right? Odds are getting suspended all the time. Odds are crashing all the time, changing all the time. So if you go place a bet on a brokerage and the odds change, well, then they go try and place the bet on the site. The bet gets rejected because the odds have changed. They have to try and place the bet again. But you've only got that minute in between rounds before the odds disappear, because you only bet in between rounds. So it's shit live betting on brokerages, like, because not only can you only bet in between rounds, but if the odds change, your bet gets rejected. The odds get suspended, your bet gets rejected. And because it takes a lot longer to get your bet in, because you're placing the bet with a brokerage and they have to place it with a site, chances are, you know, odds will be suspended or change a lot from the time you place the bet to the time they try and place it at the site, which means the like percentage of bets I actually get in compared to the percentage I try to get in is pathetic. So yeah, I would have been a millionaire a long time ago, man, if liquidity was there, but it's not. And I will say this, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. You'd think as the sport grows, liquidity would get better, but it isn't. I've been doing this for 15 years. It's getting worse, man. It's getting worse, which it sucks, man. It sucks. It sucks. F Google is saying Mozarov is now 19-11. When I watched his interview and he said he also fought under different names, I lost it. What a sketchy dude. You know what? Yeah, you know. Yeah, I'll do that, David. No problem, man. We'll get that sorted. No, we'll do the props for sure, mate. We'll do them on stream. Do you know what, man? When I first saw the whole Mozarov drama floating around on Twitter, I didn't really take it that seriously, because I get accused of all kinds of crazy shit online, which I haven't done. And for that reason, like, whenever I see like the whole scam exposed stuff that people put out there, I don't really look into it that much, because it's like, it's instant viral content, right? People love to put content like that out there because it's instant clicks, instant views, it's viral content, loads of drama off it. People love the drama. So when I first saw it, I was like, oh, whatever, it's probably just some fucking guys making YouTube videos and trying to get clicks and views and screw this Mozarov guy over who's just trying to earn a living. But then when I read the Sherdog article, like, it's pretty naughty, man. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty naughty. And like, I don't hate on the guy for the problem I've got with the whole like witch hunt thing on the internet, when you see like the whole MMA community now going off Mozarov, going after Mozarov. What I don't like about that is so often, like, there's two sides to every story, and people can like completely trash someone, you know, ruin their credibility, their reputation, their careers, without having the full story, right? So whenever I see like Mozarov's situation, I'm like, well, before you literally all condemn him as being like the biggest fraud in the history of the UFC, like listen to what he's got to say about it. You know, don't like condemn this fucking guy without getting both sides of the story, because it's easy. It's easy for people to kind of jump to conclusions and assume the worst. But when I read the Sherdog article, it is quite damning, man. It's quite hard to defend. And when it comes to Mozrov, like, my issue is not like that he's in the UFC now. It's like, whatever, right? He's been signed. He's signed a contract. He's clearly only got there by doing dodgy shit in the past. Like, my issue isn't that he's here now. My issue is that if he hadn't done all that dodgy shit, like, he never probably would have got the opportunity to be in the UFC, and that's what fucks me off, because there's probably a situation where, the UFC matchmakers probably had two guys, right, two light heavyweights in front of him, and they were going to give a contract to one of them. They're like, right, are we going to give the contract to Mozrov, or are we going to give the contract to this other guy? And the matchmakers have gone, this Mozrov guy, he's got an exciting style, he's explosive, he's powerful, he's got loads of knockouts, he's got a good record, 25-7, and he's got signed instead of some other guy that deserved it way more, earned it way more. You know what I mean? That's what fucks me off about it. So it's really dirty, man. You know what I mean? It is really dirty. So it's brutal. I can't wait to listen to his side of the story. Maybe he has given his side of the story, but the fact that he's probably got an opportunity over someone more deserving, that is very fucking annoying. Really, it's not good, man. It's not good. Not good. Very annoying. Yeah, maybe, Joey, mate. Although the UFC don't seem to care about that sort of stuff, right? Alright, let's get into this this second round between Blachowicz and Glover. It starts at 9 minutes and 1 second. So what David wants to do as well is go through the prop bets. So what we'll do after we're done researching this fight is we'll go through every single fight on tomorrow's card. Why do I keep... Yeah, tomorrow's card. This threw me off because I had UFC 275 up. At the end of the stream, we'll go through all the fights on tomorrow's card and we'll try and find some prop bets on each of the fights tomorrow. But I've been getting destroyed on props lately, man. I wouldn't listen to my advice on them. Jesus Christ, it has been a fucking bloodbath on props. But yeah, we'll go through the props once this fight's done with, which we're probably pretty close to getting done now, to be fair. I think once we've watched Jiri's fight against King Mo and a few of Glover's, I think we'll be pretty much done on this one, so we shouldn't take too much longer. So let's get this next round going. Round 2. Get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, man. Let's go. Hey, what's up, Hugo Boss? Hope you're doing good, mate. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, Hugo Boss, I think it's one of those fights where, another one of those situations where I think Jiri is going to win, but I do think Glover's the better bet. I think he gives you a much better risk to reward ratio. But again, what I'm looking at here in these sequences is what does Glover's striking defense looks like, because Jiri is so fucking dangerous. Like you see in these positions, right, where Glover's kind of just shelling up, just caught flat-footed in front of his opponent. Jan is landing like 2-3 strike combinations and then backing up and getting out of there. If you shell up against Jiri like that, he's not going to stop throwing. We saw in the Dominic Reyes fight, when Reyes was getting overwhelmed by Jiri, he would shell up against the cage. Jiri would just stand there and tee off on him until Reyes moved away. So when you see Glover stand like that, he's going to be a sitting duck big time. It is one of those fights, man. I think whoever you go with on this one, you're taking a big gamble. It just goes back to what we were saying earlier, right? You're better off taking a big gamble at dog odds. But again, look at that takedown entry from Glover. Very high up above Jan's hips. Very stiff, very rigid. And Jiri's going to be very dangerous on those entries. Spinning shit, flying shit. Big explosive combinations. There is a bit of a stiffness and a flatness to Glover's grappling. Walks right onto a big left hand there. Like, Glover is pretty good at when he comes forward, he uses head movement to kind of roll with the punches, but at the same time, he is super hittable. And he can't, his chin doesn't hold up as well as he used to, right? He can't roll with the punches like he used to. Jesus, big left hook there from Glover. And that's the thing, right? What we were talking about. It's another risk factor with Jiri. We know he's very reckless. We know he's bad defensively. It only takes one shot. Glover hasn't looked dangerous on the feet in a long time. To be fair, even in Glover's prime, he wasn't too dangerous on the feet. He was more of a volume striker that broke you down with pressure and volume. It's his aggression, his work rate. But, you know, he is still a big guy, 205 pounds. If he lands clean or hard, he's going to hurt you bad. And Jiri's definitely there to be hit. This would be my question, right? If Glover obtains these positions on Jiri early, how much is that going to take out of Jiri, right? How much is that going to zap his energy? You know? Alright, let's get this next fight going. So now what we'll do is take a look at the Thiago Santos fight. Glover against Santos. And I'm looking through Glover's other recent opponents, and I don't think it'll be too useful to watch too many more fights, only because Smith gave up cheap takedowns in that fight, went down very easily, and obviously he's nowhere near as fast and explosive as Jiri. Krylov fight, there was a lot of grappling, crazy scrambles. The fight that would be really useful to watch, the one we'll watch, is the Cutelaba fight, because I feel Cutelaba's style is the closest to what we're going to get from Jiri, because Blachowicz is a technical kickboxer that looked to counter-strike against Glover. Santos is a counter-striker as well for the most part. Smith, a very boxing-based style of fighting, but he's slow and clunky. He's not explosive and athletic and powerful like Jiri. Krylov, predominantly grappling-based fight. And then you've got the Cutelaba matchup, which was wild, right? Cutelaba, wild, reckless, aggressive. So, where Cutelaba came out super aggressive, looked to take Glover out early, we're going to get a look at how vulnerable Glover looked early in the fight against a powerful, explosive, aggressive dude like Cutelaba. So we'll watch that fight for sure. And then we might be done on this one. We just need to wrap up by watching Jiri and King Mo. Hopefully we learn a little bit more about Jiri's takedown defense. So let's sync up this next one, which is Glover against Santos. This is Glover versus Santos. Let's get it going. Grab you guys the ESPN Plus link now. Alright, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Alright. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Go, 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 go. Round 1. This is round 1 of Santos and Glover. So again, you just see Glover kind of standing in front of Santos, looking to roll with the punches and use that subtle head movement to be able to hang in the pocket and stay close enough to Santos where he can jump on every opportunity or any opportunity to grab a hold of Santos and look to drag him to the ground. So big right hook there from Santos, and immediately Glover shoots a takedown. But this is the danger. This is the danger, man. In the other two fights, sorry, in the Blachowicz fight, we were saying that Glover comes in very stiff, very rigid, very slow, very high up above his opponent's hips. But Blachowicz was more preoccupied by defending the takedown than countering Glover and looking to catch him as he came forward on that takedown. Remember earlier in the live stream we were saying that I didn't expect Jiri to do that. Jiri is wild and reckless, and I wouldn't expect him to be as cautious as Blachowicz and respect the grappling as much as Glover. I would expect Jiri to just come out swinging and look to catch Glover as he comes in. And you really see the risk to Glover there of someone that's going to do that. Because when Glover came forward, Santos was not interested in the threat of the takedown. He backed up a little bit to create enough distance to let his hands go. But when he backed up, he wasn't interested in, keeping his hands in a position where he could get underhooks in play if Glover were to shoot in nice and deep on his legs. Instead, he just started firing, big wide winging hooks. And obviously dinged Glover a couple times and dropped him. And the problem is, we know Jiri's more than capable of putting Glover away in a sequence like that. Super, super, super dangerous. Probably a lot more dangerous than Santos, right? We know Jiri is for sure bigger than Santos. Santos used to be a middleweight. In fact, I think Santos started his... Well, I don't know if he started his career as a welterweight, but I know Santos did have a few fights at welterweight. Whereas Jiri, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach, he's got the wingspan to fight at heavyweight. So you've got Santos on the smaller scale for a light heavyweight, Jiri on the bigger scale for a light heavyweight. So Glover's going to be in big trouble when he comes... Well, the thing is, Glover's going to be in big trouble everywhere, right? Because when he stands right in front of Jiri... Remember early in fights how Jiri kind of springs forward with those karate combinations. Those straight punch karate combinations. Like, Glover's going to be a sitting duck to them because he gets caught flat-footed and he's trying to, stay behind the high boxing guard and roll with the punches. Use those subtle head movements. That's not going to work if Jiri's blitzing forward in straight lines, covering so much distance quickly with those straight punches. Glover's going to be a sitting duck to those kind of combinations. And Glover's so stiff and rigid when he comes forward and slow. Obviously, if Jiri fires back aggressively like we saw Santos do, it's going to be very difficult for Glover to get in on the legs and hips of Jiri without putting himself in significant risk of being knocked out. It's tough, man. Like, early on Glover's going to be in a lot of trouble here, I think. Because with how explosive and powerful Jiri is, it's not going to be easy to hold him down. Remember, Reyes got the takedown in round 2 when Jiri was already worn down a little bit. To get Jiri down in round 1, like, he's a ball of energy, it's not going to be easy. You can see how explosive he is. That's a really good point, GR. So GR's making a great point that, like, when we saw Glover come forward there, right? I didn't even think of this. A really great point GR made. When Glover comes forward looking for that takedown to tie Santos up, as Santos backs up, he's only throwing big wide hooks, right? So the shots that were landing on Glover for the most part were on, like, the top of the head, the side of the head. When you see Jiri explode, he's throwing hooks, straight punches, uppercuts, flying knees, spinning elbows. And you can see that Glover, when he got wobbled by Santos in this first round, he's not really sure where he is, right? He's kind of fighting on instinct. You can see he's dazed. And Santos just didn't land a kill shot to put him away. With Jiri, obviously if he lands clean and hard on the chin and Glover doesn't see it coming, far more likely he lands the kill shot and actually puts Glover away. And like GR said, when you're throwing fucking spinning shit and uppercuts and straight punches, far higher probability that somebody's going to sneak through and put Glover away. So Glover's in a lot of trouble here early, man. 100%. I think if you back Glover, you're putting your money in a lot of danger. I suppose the question is, Jiri's advantages baked into the odds? They probably are, right? The odds are probably where they should be. You know? It is a tough one for betting this. Let's get into round 2. So round 2 starts at 9 minutes and 20 seconds. So that's 9 minutes and 20 seconds. 9 minutes 20. Let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, let's go. So Taz is saying 0.5 units on Glover if he survives round 1. Another unit if he survives round 2. I like that strategy, mate. And of course, the good thing about that strategy is if Glover does make it through round 1, you'd imagine he would have been in a decent amount of trouble. Unless, obviously, Jiri slips and ends up on the bottom and Glover's able to dominate the first round from top position. But because of how big and strong Jiri is, even though Glover's got a very heavy top game, you'd imagine Jiri's going to be pretty difficult to hold down. You'd imagine he'd be very explosive and scrambly on the bottom. But Glover does have a heavy top game. But again, just like we were saying with the Blachowicz fight, this top control doesn't tell us a lot about Glover's top game, because just like Blachowicz didn't make much of an effort to pop back up to his feet, Santos isn't really either. Just kind of lying on his back, just allowing Glover to kind of hold him down, right? Not really try to create space for himself off his back. And you can see how easily Glover's passing his guard. But it is obviously worth noting that Jiri did look very weak off his back against Reyes, but I do think he was playing a little bit of possum, in that he was waiting for Reyes to get overly aggressive and try and advance his position so he could create that scramble to pop back up. Whether he would be as laid back, as casual off his back if Glover were on top of him, I'm not so sure. I'll say the same on this fight, like we said about the Pavlovich versus Lewis fight earlier on. Best case scenario for us, as like people that bet on MMA, is that this fight goes deep. This fight goes into the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, and we get to see a lot more of Jiri. And we get some more questions answered on him, because for a guy with, you know, over 30 pro fights, there's still a lot of questions to be answered, you know. And like, he might pass those tests with flying colours, but he definitely has a decent amount of holes, which you'd expect, right? For a 29-year-old light heavyweight, that's really young in the light heavyweight division. You'd expect him to have a lot of holes, a lot of improving to do. You know, Glover probably had loads of holes when he was 29, right? The question is, can Glover make him pay for him? Because he is a sitting duck on the feet, that's for sure. Like we've seen it in this first round against Santos. I'm sure we see it in the Cutelaba fight as well. From memory, Glover was in a lot of trouble against Cutelaba early. HLB is saying, not sure he agrees with Taz. Jiri can knock him out in any round. If his cardio holds up, it will be easier for him to avoid submissions once they're all sweaty. That's a good point, man. It is a good point. And the thing is, right, if Jiri is one of these like crazy scrambly guys that can use his power, his explosiveness, his athleticism to just explode back to his feet and be really scrambly off his back if you put him down, Glover might not have enough time to get away with the fact that he is a sitting duck to the knockout early. Like, if Jiri doesn't accept being on the bottom for long periods like Santos and Blachowicz has, or have, Jiri gets way more opportunities to land a kill shot in that first round. If he's one of these guys that's just really difficult to hold down. Which is, you know, earlier in the breakdown, or earlier in the live stream, we're talking about most likely outcomes, right? Most likely outcome is big guy like Jiri is going to burn himself out quite quickly. You know, takes a lot of energy to fight at a high pace when you're that big. But at the same time, it's not easy to hold guys down that are that big and strong unless they want to be held down. Like Blachowicz and Santos aren't making much of an effort to pop back up to their feet, right? If Jiri wants to make an effort to pop back up to his feet, can Glover stop him? You know, the best example of this that I can think of is Derek Lewis. I always use Derek Lewis as an example. Because Derek Lewis has really bad takedown defense and he's super weak off his back. But if you go and watch, you know, any of Derek Lewis's fights, when he gets taken down, he's just so big and strong. He's so physically imposing that when he decides he doesn't want to be held down anymore, Lewis can quite often just roll to his front and stand back up. It's crazy. And guys really struggle to hold him down. You know, obviously guys like DC who are elite wrestlers don't. But a lot of guys struggle to hold Lewis down. And maybe Jiri's like that. Yeah, that's right, David, mate. 100%, man. It'd be crazy if Glover could do this again. Get another win against all the odds. But I do think both Jamal Hill and Ankalaev are a big problem for Jiri. I feel more sure of that now than ever after watching these guys tonight. Joey McBride is saying, I'm more and more convinced Jiri is the side to be on. I will say this, man. I think I know what you mean in that when you see how like stiff and slow Glover is on the feet, right, early on, it is going to be tough for him, man. What we'll do, there's like 2 more fights that I want to watch, and I think we're done on this one. Then we'll go through the prop bets for tomorrow night. The only fights I want to watch are Glover versus Cutelaba, just because I feel like out of all the styles Glover's fought over the last few years, Cutelaba's style of striking is most similar to Jiri's. Well, not the new Cutelaba, right? The new Cutelaba paces himself much better. But that's quite a good example of what we were talking about earlier on as well. Remember I said that Jiri's really got no reason to learn from being overly aggressive because he hasn't been made to pay. He hasn't been made to pay for being overly aggressive and reckless. And then when he takes a bad loss, once he's forced, you know, to be made to pay for being overly reckless, he might look to pace himself a little bit better, chill out a little bit better, fight a little bit safer, smarter, strategically, be more aware defensively. Cutelaba is a great example of this because early in Cutelaba's UFC career, he was crazy reckless. He used to come out the gate 1,000 miles an hour trying to kill everyone in round 1. And Cutelaba was another one of these guys, like Jiri, loads of wasted movement, loads of footwork, bouncing around, spinning attacks, flying attacks, big combinations. And of course, Cutelaba would always burn himself out round about the midway point of round 2. And you knew if you survived, you know, the first sort of minute and a half, first sort of 7.5 minutes of a fight, right? Round 1, midway through to round 2, Cutelaba would burn himself out, and then, you know, he'd start to struggle a lot in the second half of the fight. And then what happened? Cutelaba suffered a few bad losses, like this one against Glover, where guys weathered that early storm, dragged him into the second half of the fight, caused him big problems. And now what do we see from Cutelaba? Like, way smarter pacing. Doesn't go so hard early, spreads his output more out across the 3 rounds, and you get much better performances from him as a result. We're seeing that growth in Cutelaba's style, better fight IQ, better game planning, better strategy, and maybe Jiri hasn't reached that point yet where we see that evolution. But like David was saying earlier on, you know, it's a fucking title fight. It's a title fight. If ever he's going to fight smart, you'd think it would be this weekend. But a lot of the time, fighters need to be punished for mistakes they make in order to tighten up those weaknesses and improve. Because I guess they live by the code. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? If Jiri's coming out and smoking most guys he fights in round 1, why would he change? Especially when that might be his best chance of beating Glover, getting it done early, you know? HLB is saying Glover is 2.70. As a great man once said, let the math do the betting for you. Is Jiri really worth it at 1.50? Yeah, no, I don't think he is, HLB, man. Like I say, I think that if you really want to bet this fight, I do think, like you said, Glover gives you the better risk to reward ratio. But man, I wouldn't feel good about it. I wouldn't feel good about it because he's going to be probably in a lot of danger early. And if you look at the odds, right, Odds of 2.70 plus 170. It's only an implied probability of 37%, right? That's like round about that 40% ballpark. Like, you know, to get a nice margin of value here, you'd want to be giving like Glover like better than 40% chance of winning, maybe 45%. Like, I can't stretch to that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, would you give Glover a 45% chance of winning? Like, on you know, to the naked eye, like odds at 2.70 plus 170, they seem quite attractive. When you see those odds are close to a 40% implied probability, don't know if you're getting a great deal in those odds, man. You know, it's just the way I look at it. Lawrence, what's up, Lawrence? Hope you're doing good, mate. Lawrence is saying, will Glover have the same advantage as Oliveira of going to the ground to take a break and opponents to follow to the ground? That's actually not a bad point, mate. That's a really good point, Lawrence. Do you know what? I've never seen Glover do it. It is obviously a tactic a lot of BJJ guys use. They're a bit... Well, you can't call Verdum fragile on the feet. You know, Verdum wasn't... You know, Verdum was a great striker in his day. But obviously, Verdum, Maia... And we can't, like, say Oliveira... Yeah, well, actually, Oliveira did this against Kevin Lee. We'll throw Oliveira in there as well, right? Oliveira, Maia, and Verdum, they go down really easily in the hope that their opponent jumps into their guard. You know, maybe instinctively or not respecting the threat these guys pose off their back. And Glover might do that, but I've never seen him do it. But at the same time, we are seeing Glover evolve, right? The Glover we get in 2022 is nothing like the Glover that we got, you know, back in 2018 or 2017, 2018. So, wouldn't be surprised, man. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but Glover's definitely still improving, man. So, yeah, it's a good point. Good point, Lawrence, mate. So, let's get into this next fight now. It's Cutelaba, Glover. Starts at 1 minute 47 on Fight Pass. There's no ESPN Plus link for this fight. So let's get it going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So you see there are some similarities between Cutelaba and Jiri, where he's kind of quite far out of boxing range, but then he's blitzing in with all kinds of different strikes, loading up on big power strikes. He's light on his feet. Just Cutelaba's style seems to be a lot more boxing heavy, whereas Jiri's throwing fucking everything at you. But then you can also see Cutelaba's not fighting as long. He's not committing as hard when he comes forward. I think that's what makes Jiri so dangerous. When he comes forward and attacks you, he goes all in. Guy's relentless, all in. He covers so much distance. Sits down so hard on his shots. When a guy commits that hard, it's very difficult to get out of the way because the speed at which he covers distance. You know, it's not like Glover's a Lyoto, you know, prime Lyoto Machida that's going to be light on his feet as well, and he's going to be able to read the body language and movement of Jiri, and he's going to be able to back up and circle away. When Jiri comes forward, it's hard to visualize how Glover's going to get out the way because of how hard Jiri commits. That's why I do agree with everyone that's saying it's hard to bet Glover here. It is hard to bet Glover, man. It's hard to bet him, for sure. Because you can't look at how much damage Jiri was able to inflict in that first round against Reyes and see Glover surviving that literal onslaught. And let's give Reyes a little bit of respect, right? Let's give Reyes a little bit of credit. Let's give Reyes a little bit of credit because I know he's declined a lot. But give him a bit of credit. He did take a lot of damage in that first round and hang in there. And he was kind of circling away from Jiri. And even though he was taking a lot of damage, he was using his footwork, his movement, his counter-striking to hang in there. And we saw the same thing against John Jones, right? I know John Jones doesn't have the power of Jiri, but again, Reyes just circled away from John Jones. And that kept him alive for 25 minutes against Jones. The difference with Glover is he can't do that. So whereas when Jiri came forward and attacked Reyes, he was just looking to circle away, try and create space and distance between him and Jiri and limit the damage he was taking. Glover can't do that, right? Glover doesn't have that footwork, that movement to buy himself time in there. So if Jiri does hurt Glover on the feet, and then he does blitz forward, and he does back Jiri, does black Glover up against the cage and trap him like he did, the Reyes. Reyes was circling away and surviving. Where does Glover go? How does Glover survive? That's where it gets real tricky. So you gotta feel, man, this is one of those fights where odds are probably where they should be, Jiri definitely deserves to be the favourite, but his advantages are probably baked into the odds. And Glover, 2.70 plus 170. I'm not sure his odds are giving you a very good deal. Apply probability of 37%. He's going to be in loads of trouble early on. Like, if you bet Glover this weekend, you're not going to be feeling comfortable before that fight starts. Like when they're doing the face-off and Bruce Buffer's reading out their names and fights getting ready to start, you're not going to be feeling confident, man. You're not going to be feeling good. And that's okay, right? I got 2 bets this weekend. I'm betting JJ Aldrich and I'm betting Dan Ige. Big calculated gambles. Not big gambles. I'm not betting loads on them because they're really high risk bets. I wouldn't bet a lot on fighters that don't feel that confident are going to win. Obviously, they're like speculative gambles, but I'm not going to feel. Obviously, I'm going to have a lack of confidence in Aldrich and Ige because I don't think either of them are going to win, right? But they do both present good risk to reward ratios. But I don't really care if Ige and Aldrich lose because I know that the odds are way off, and if I keep putting my money in those situations over the long term, I'm going to earn a good profit. Guys like Glover, I'm not so sure. Apply probability 37%. I'm not. If I bet Glover this weekend, I'm not going to be feeling comfortable before that fight starts. Whereas Aldrich and Ige, I don't give a fuck what happens. If they win to me, it's just a bonus because I'm not expecting them to win anyway, So anyway, sync up this second round between Cutelaba and Glover. It starts at 8 minutes and 10 seconds. 8 minutes and 10 seconds. Sync it up. Get it going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. So, Glover wasn't in as much danger as I remember him being in that first round, but at the same time, like we said, Cutelaba doesn't cover distance anywhere near as quickly as Jiri. He doesn't commit anywhere near as hard when he comes forward either. He doesn't fight as long. He reaches a little bit on his shots. He's a lot slower than Jiri as well. Less explosive. It is a great fight. David said it best. Great fight. I can't wait for this one. So the plan for the rest of this stream, guys, what we're going to do is watch Jiri versus King Mo. And then I'm going to go through prop bets for tomorrow night's event. See if we can find any decent props, or like I said, we get killed on props. So I wouldn't listen to me on them, but I know some people like them, so we'll do them anyway. Bang them out. See if we can find any decent ones. We'll take a look at over-unders as well. Haven't had a look at over-unders for this event yet. Do pretty good betting over-unders. If I go to results. Where are we? There you go. We do pretty well on over-unders. Had some fucking nasty variants here and here. But for the most part, we do alright betting over-unders. Hiltzy hasn't updated the website for May's results yet. But I think we made a profit last month as well on over-unders. Actually, take a look if we did or not. If we go to here. When was UFC Andrade Lemos? April, so that doesn't count. When was Gaethje Oliveira? Was that May? Yeah. So last month, down a unit. Yeah, down about just under a unit last month. I thought we did better than that. That is a shame. Oh well. So yeah, we'll be down about a unit. But yeah, we'll go through over-unders as well. I haven't looked at them for tomorrow's event yet, but we do perform pretty good on over-unders, man. So hopefully we can find some. I don't like to look in the week too early on over-unders, because what I find is liquidity is pretty low on over-unders. So it's not until like the day of the fight, the day before the fight, where liquidity builds up enough to be able to really bet them. Because I've got to like think of the community as well. You know, if a couple hundred people are all placing the same bet at the same time and liquidity is low, the odds are going to get smashed. So I always wait for liquidity to build up a little bit before I recommend any bets. So we can do that now on over-unders, and hopefully we could dig some up, man. Fingers crossed. Yay, what's up, Gucci, mate? What's up, mate? What's up, Gucci? Good to see you, mate. NH Constructions, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing good, Gucci, mate. I know you're on a rough time at the moment, mate. Obviously, I'm not going to talk on YouTube about everything that's been going on, because that's like private business, mate. It's up to you, you know what I mean? But I really feel for you at the moment, Gucci, mate. Fucking hit me hard in the chest this morning, man, when you were telling me everything's going on. Nothing worse than, you know, when your little ones are going through problems, man. Like, I remember the anxiety I felt, mate, before my son started high school. The anxiety I felt, mate, like, literally, like, it would fucking keep me up at night worrying how he was going to settle in, if he was going to have any problems there, do you know what I mean? Like, I think I said to you earlier on in the VIP chat room, me and the wife actually moved from the town we grew up into a neighbouring town to get him into a better school because of how worried we were about his time in school. Like, literally parents' worst nightmare, man. So, feel for you big time at the moment, Gucci, mate. It's fucking horrendous, man. What's up, Paul, mate? Hope you're doing good, mate. Hope you're doing good. Paul, me and David were talking about Haaland earlier on, man. So, I know I spoke to you about this before. Like, last night, I watched Norway against Serbia, and man, it's another game from Haaland where he didn't do a lot. He's like a crazy player, man. He obviously scored for Norway. He like popped up in a great position, scored a great goal in the first half for Norway. But then the rest of the game, man, just didn't do anything. Like, literally just doesn't affect the game at all. It's so strange. And I was saying to David, like, it'll be interesting to see how he does at Man City, because obviously Pep demands a high work rate. And you don't, like, I've never really seen that from Haaland. Like, he doesn't do a lot at Dortmund. He kind of just, you know, mopes around the pitch and then just pops up in positions. Obviously, he's so clinical. He's got so much conviction in front of goal that he scores loads of goals, but he just doesn't do a lot, man. He doesn't really influence the game other than just popping up in good positions and scoring goals. Like, he's not creating goals for other people. He's not, you know, winning knockdowns and running the channels and holding the ball up. You don't see loads of that from him. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see, man, how he looks. I can't wait to see how he looks there. I would just worry a little bit that he'll end up a bit like an Icardi. Do you know what I mean by that? Where Icardi was exactly the same in Serie A. He would fucking pop up, you know, in great positions. He'd have so much conviction in front of goal. But he just wouldn't really, aside from that, influence games much. It's weird. It's weird, mate. Like, it's same for Norway yesterday. I thought, you know what? See how he does for Norway, but it's exactly the same. He just doesn't really guess. He doesn't do a lot. Obviously, like you said, though, dude, scoring 20 plus goals a season, you're right, man. Like, the amount of times Man City get the ball into dangerous areas and there's just no one on the end of it. No one on the end of it. Like, how often do you see fucking Man City fizz the ball into the 6-yard box and there's just no one there? No one there. So I get it, man. You are right. He probably will score a boatload of goals, even if you just fucking stand him in the 18-yard box, right? The amount of decent balls in the box he's going to get on the end of. But the only reason why I talk like that about Haaland is just because, like, obviously Pep is a genius. He knows what he's doing. He's obviously got a plan for Haaland already. Otherwise, they wouldn't have paid so much money for him. But when you look at Man City and their style, how, you know, their players just drift all over the pitch and they all chip in and do the donkey work, dropping back out of position to cover each other. I just don't see how Haaland fits in. Like, have you ever seen Man City just play with a centre forward where Haaland's job will just be centre forward, just be a striker? Like, they've never really, like, I can't ever recall him playing with a player like that. So that's what's tripping me out about Haaland. I just can't see how he fits into City's style. But I suppose it gives him something different, right? Yeah. Defo, man. Defo, mate. Nice one, Eric, mate. Eric, I did click the three dots to make you mod, mate. I'm not sure if you get an email to confirm or if it just automatically happens, but I did click it, dude, and it's not happening. Sorry, mate. But what I will do, though, dude, I'm gonna make a note of your username, and I'll go into my back end. Go into my back end. I'll go into my back end when the stream's done and see if there's another way to do it, mate. So nice one, Eric, dude. Nice one, Eric, mate. Yeah, as soon as the stream's done, mate, I'll try and figure out what the problem is. It did take... There was someone else that I added as a mod, and it took a little while for it to go through. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Joey. Not sure, mate. Not sure. But yeah, I clicked that, dude. Eric saying it should automatically happen. I wonder why it's not happening, man. I'll try again now. Maybe it was because it was lagging out before with all the spam that was coming through. I'll do it again now, man. Let me know if that's done the trick, dude. Yeah, I definitely prefer Haaland, mate. What's Kane, like 28, 29 now? Something like that? But you know what, though, dude? What I will say is, when I talk about, like, how, like, I'm not sure if Haaland fits, or obviously, like, Pep's got a plan, right? I'm a fucking numpty. I don't know what I'm talking about. I guess I'm just interested in what Pep's plan is, because when you look at Kane is the exact type of player that you could see fitting in at City, right? Positioning great, clinical in front of goal, great positioning, high work rate, great in the air, but then he's good at holding the ball up. You know, he can, you know, cover people, covers a lot of ground, good with the knock-ons and the through balls. You know, he's creative himself. You could see how Kane would slot in because, you know, all the work he does aside from goal scoring, you know, all the work he does outside the 18-yard box. You don't get that from Haaland. You know, that's what I'm interested to see. You could see Kane fitting in perfectly. But then that's not what Man City need, right? Man City have got enough players to do that work. Maybe they do just want an out-and-out goal scorer that's going to fucking camp in the 18-yard box and bury any opportunity he gets. You know? Alright, let's get it going, man. So the last fight that I want to watch on this one is going to be King Mo Jiri. And this is just because we've talked so much about Glover's path to victory being on the ground. I think this is the only recent fight where we're going to get a chance to look at Jiri's ground game. I mean, look, you go back in his career, look how many first round finishes we've got here. None of these are really going to tell us very much about his takedown defense and ground games. They don't last long enough to show us any grappling. Obviously, we know King Mo, former NCAA Division 1 level wrestler. So this is pretty much like last hope, I think, to learn anything useful about Jiri's takedown defense. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm hoping that this video won't get copyright flagged by YouTube. Obviously, we're using it under fair use, creating a new work and adding commentary, so it shouldn't be, you know, infringing anyone's copyright. But the YouTube copyright algorithm at times is very aggressive. So I'm going to try and play this on stream for us all to watch. But usually in the live streaming back end, you get a warning. You get a warning in the back end, which says like, you get a warning in the back end which basically says like, this is fucking materials copyrighted, stop it. So I'll put it on now, and then we'll see if it works or not. See what happens, man. So what we will do is, nice one, HLB comment, mate. Cheers, HLB, mate. Thanks a lot, man. Cheers, mate. So let's get it going. Nice one, HLB. Thanks a lot, dude. So let's go. So I'm just going to keep a close eye on the YouTube back end, see if it's going to allow me to play this. It looks like it will. I'm sure I've used this video in like lots of videos in the past, breaking down, well, not lots of videos, just breaking down Jiri's last 2 fights on YouTube. So I think we're going to be okay. But from memory, King Mo doesn't really test Jiri's takedown defense very much. From memory, he kind of shows Jiri loads of respect, just circles away and doesn't do a lot. But what this fight is super interesting. This goes back to David's point. I don't know if David's still watching, but this goes back to David's point earlier on. Like way back in the stream, David said Jiri could come out, fight way smarter, not come out trying to kill Glover in round 1, and instead conserve energy a bit better, pace himself better, and kind of just chip away at Glover instead. And we're kind of seeing that here, right? This is a way less aggressive version of Jiri. You know, against Ozdemir and Reyes, he came out total kamikaze mode, playing Rock'em Sock'em Robot, swinging for the fence, trying to kill Ozdemir and Reyes, whereas here, you can see he's showing King Mo a lot of respect. And what you're also seeing is a different stance from Jiri. Look how low his stance is. Notice how he's kind of much lower down. He carries his hands low anyway, but with his knees bent in that much lower stance and his arms low, this is for a different purpose. This is so that if King Mo did shoot a takedown, his body is in a more natural stance to clear his legs, try and dig underhooks, you know, pretty quickly and neutralize the threat of the takedown. So what David said is true. This is really interesting. This style from Jiri obviously poses a much bigger threat to Glover, because we know when Glover comes forward looking for the takedown, he's quite stiff, he's quite rigid, he's quite upright. And with Jiri in this lower stance, it's going to be difficult, or more difficult, for Glover to get in on the legs and hips of Glover. It's going to be more difficult for Glover to get in on the legs and hips of Jiri. Look at that movement there, man. Look at this movement. This is completely different. And remember what we were saying again, where when Glover was shooting in on Yan was kind of happy to just try and get his back to the cage and use the cage to base defend the takedown. Look at this. Jiri reads the takedown entry here from King Mo, and look at this footwork. He does a great job here. Look at that. And this is a big problem for Glover, because if Jiri comes in and fights like this is what David said earlier on, it's going to be way more difficult for Glover to tie Jiri up. Because instead of Jiri coming forward, potentially running into Glover and giving Glover an opportunity to grab a hold of him, Jiri's using his footwork, his movement, his reach, his distance control in reverse here to keep King Mo out of a range where he can grab a hold of him. Which will make it way more difficult for Glover to come inside and grab a hold of him. Glover's going to have to put himself in way more danger to get close enough to Jiri to tie him up. He's really going to have to get aggressive and bite down on that mouthpiece to try and get inside. And even if he does get inside and grab a hold of Jiri, we know that Glover's takedown entries tend to come really high up above the hips of Jiri. And so, with Jiri in that lower stance, arms in a perfect position to get underhooks, and when King Mo comes forward, instead of Jiri looking to counter him and steam into him, he's looking to back up and maintain that distance so he can circle away and make it difficult for King Mo to get in on his legs and hips. It's going to be really difficult for King Mo, man. It's going to be really difficult for Glover if Jiri fights like this. You see there, right? Little sequences like this. So, upsets Jiri's balance with a leg kick. But as soon as Jiri gets back up, he's not thinking about countering King Mo here. He's thinking about creating distance and preventing King Mo from getting in on his legs and hips. Because if King Mo gets in on his legs and hips, he's at risk of being taken down. He knows as long as he can create distance, it's going to be difficult for King Mo to get in deep on his legs and hips. So in those fights against Reyes and Ozdemir, in sequences like this, Jiri would just stand his ground, close his eyes, bite down on the mouthpiece and come out swinging. Whereas his reaction here is to immediately circle away. Look at this. He's not interested in countering King Mo. All he's interested in doing is preventing King Mo from getting in on the legs and hips. So you see it here, right? You see it here. He's leaning forward, using his body, his head, to create as much distance between King Mo's arms and his legs as possible. He's got his hands down low in a position to secure underhooks as quickly as possible. And then when King Mo's not able to grab a hold of him, he just circles off to his left. Beautiful. This version of Jiri is going to cause Glover big problems, man. This version of Jiri will cause Glover big trouble. Because Glover's opportunity in this fight is making Jiri pay for being overly aggressive. Like even little sequences like this, right? Watch. So Jiri is using his length to maintain this safe distance. He's using the jab to chip away at King Mo. But then watch this. So here, Jiri is safe because he can use this lead hand to measure distance and keep King Mo out of a range where he can cause Jiri a problem. Watch, as soon as King Mo level changes, look at what Jiri does. Jiri's not looking to stand his ground, fire back and knock King Mo out. He just does not want to be taken down. And look what he does. Watch. Watch the level change from King Mo and look how Jiri reacts. Look. Look at that. You see that? As soon as King Mo goes to drop levels, Jiri backs up straight away. Watch. See that? Instead of him looking to counter King Mo, he pushed down on the head and cleared his legs away. Which makes it really difficult for someone like Glover, that's stiff and slow and shoots in above hip height, to get anywhere near Jiri's legs. So this version of Jiri is going to be a fucking nightmare, man. So Gucci is saying, yeah, like what most of us have been saying, right? If Glover can avoid getting KO'd early, he's going to strangle Jiri. But you know what, though? We're seeing a completely different style of Jiri here. Whereas earlier on in the live stream we were saying you know, this pace is unsustainable. Jiri goes way too hard. Like, there's no way he can keep this up. A guy this big can't keep this up for 3 rounds, 5 rounds. He looks just fine at this pace. Now that he's pacing himself much better here, he's not exerting anywhere near as much energy. And he's just chipping away at King Mo. Outpointing him, picking him apart with his speed. His more diverse range of attacks, his length. Where it gets interesting though is what we said earlier on. Really nice deep double leg there from King Mo. And Jiri does a really good job clearing his legs, showing King Mo strong hips and slipping out of there. What was impressive about that is, as Jiri backed up, he didn't have like a solid, stable cage to use as a base to stuff that takedown. The ropes have obviously got a lot of giving him. He was still able to shrug that takedown off. Very good takedown offense from Jiri, but obviously it's inconclusive. So what I was just saying a few moments ago is, the question is, right, what we're seeing from Jiri here is exactly what we saw in the Reyes fight. Different styles, but the same dynamic where his opponent allows Jiri to dictate the pace, right? Jiri is in complete control here. King Mo is allowing Jiri to dictate the pace. The question becomes, can Glover take control of the fight from him if he can't get a takedown? It seems very unlikely, right, that Glover's going to be able to wear him down in the clinch or pressure him with boxing like he used to be able to do. So the question becomes, if Jiri's going to fight like this, and as a result Glover gets nowhere near a takedowns, he can't get in on the legs and hips of Jiri, is there anything Glover can do to make Jiri work hard enough to slow down without getting himself knocked out? There probably isn't, right? There probably isn't. I can't imagine Glover being able to come forward without getting himself knocked out with how hittable he is. Gucci is saying Glover will either cut the cage off or bum rush him to the cage. Yeah, I'm not sure. I agree with Joey on this one. I think Jiri might be too big and fast and explosive, man. I really am. Now that I'm watching this fight, I'm struggling to see how Glover's going to tie this guy up. If he fights like this, if the crazy reckless Jiri comes out, anything can happen. But if this version of Jiri shows up, I think he gives Glover trouble. Like big trouble. So this was a really useful fight to watch, man. This makes me feel even more confident Jiri's going to win now. And David was right all along, right? David was right all along. A more controlled, smart performance from Jiri, like we're seeing here, will make him a far more difficult fight for Glover. He may not stand as big of a chance of getting a big, flashy, highlight reel knockout, but he can probably neutralise the threat of the takedown and just chip away at Glover on the feet. And obviously, when you're as dangerous as Jiri is, you don't have to chip away for too long before landing something enough to put your opponent away. Let's skip through this. Alright. So what we'll do, guys, after this fight is over, we'll go through the prop bets from tomorrow night, and we'll see if we can dig up a decent prop on every fight. Although I will warn you guys, I've been getting fucking destroyed on props, so I wouldn't follow my advice on props. I've been doing very bad on them over the last few months. I don't know why. Nothing's changed with my strategy on props, but I haven't been doing good on them. I just think with my props, I tend to go for like really high risk, high reward props, like props that have pretty big payouts, odds of like 10.0 and better. And because I haven't hit many of them in a long time, and the ones I do hit aren't covering the losses, I'm just doing bad on them. But I'm not the biggest fan of props, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I agree with you, Simple Man, mate. I think Simple Man might have said this earlier, and David definitely said it earlier. But Simple Man's saying that he thinks Jiri's like crazy style against Reyes and Ozdemir was intentional by design, whereas seeing a completely different side of him here. What is quite funny is, like, if I would have watched this fight first, it would have completely like changed my perspective on the first part of this live stream and how I thought these two guys matched up. Like, I'm way more confident that Jiri wins now, because if he was smart enough to implement this game plan against King Mo, a guy who, let's face it, is nowhere near as dangerous as Glover. Like, realistically, if King Mo did get Jiri down here, what's the worst that's going to happen? Well, he's probably just going to lay on Jiri and do nothing until the end of the round, right? King Mo was never that dangerous from top position. He was just a lay-in prayer. But if Glover gets on top, you're like, holy fuck, you're in a whole world of trouble, right? The amount of damage that Glover can inflict from top position, like we saw he did to Anthony Smith. You don't want Glover on top of you. So if Jiri is smart enough to show someone like King Mo this much respect, you'd have to say it is super likely he's going to show the same respect to Glover. And again, look at this takedown defense, man. Does a good job of reading King Mo here. Is the next one I'm on about. King Mo shoots a takedown, sees it coming, shows him strong hips, clears his legs. Yeah, David, definitely, mate. David, remind me, mate. Remind me. We'll do over-unders as well. So after this fight, we'll do over-unders and props. Can't believe I made a loss on over-unders last month, man. I thought we did better than that. For some reason, I thought we were in profit. I'm quite surprised we're down a unit. I completely forgot about how many over-unders we had on that pay-per-view card. That's a bit annoying. So our first losing month on even money bet. First losing month on over-unders in a while, I think. Maybe like last 3-4 months. And slowly grinding back up after that fucking horrible run of variance, man. Where we got fucking dicked. Betting on the under in like the gate. What was it? The gate. What losses did we take? We bet the under in the Gaethje Chandler fight. The under in the Rodriguez Dern fight. There are a few more. We just lost loads of bets like that in a short space of time. Pretty brutal. Simple Man is saying this fight's easy. Take Jiri and you can hedge Glover by sub and make a profit or a very small loss. Yeah, you know what? Glover does like to finish with ground and pound, though. That, I guess, is the biggest risk to that one. And to be fair, like what Gucci and Taz are saying, Gucci and Taz are both in my live betting group, and Glover has been good to us, man. Like, there's certain fighters that over the years we've just made a lot of money betting. Glover's got to be one of them. Taibura's got to be another one. Like, Glover's definitely up there. The amount of times we managed to hit Glover at big dog odds and he's come through for us. So it makes sense that we're thinking about him doing the same again. But it's so hard to bet Glover pre-fight after seeing what Jiri has done to King Mo here. Like, this game plan would work perfectly. Well, you can't say it would work perfectly. Maybe it wouldn't. But that is the exact game plan that he needs to use. Yeah, we suffered some mad variance on those over-unders, man. Some crazy variance. I haven't looked at the losses we took in a while, but I remember at the time thinking these fucking bets are cursed. Let's see what we had. So we were doing amazing, and then just got fucking smashed for about 4 months, slowly on the comeback. But yeah, we were getting fucking wrecked. Yeah, like ones like that. This was the run here. What did we have? Yeah, this one, I thought that one would end inside the distance. I thought either Rosenstrike would get a knockout or Blades would just take Rosenstrike down and maul him. Instead, Blades just took Rosenstrike down and cuddled him instead. Dern Rodriguez, I thought Dern's either going to fucking rip a limb off or strangle Rodriguez to death, or get herself knocked out. In hindsight, with how much better Marina Rodriguez's takedown defenses looked, that's obviously a bad bet, way too aggressive. But at the time, with how bad Rodriguez looked on the ground against Carla Esparza, I didn't see any way she'd survive if Dern got her down. This was probably a bad bet. I do regret that bet. That's not a good one. I don't know why I placed that. I hate that bet. I don't know why I would have bet that. That's a shitty bet, actually. It was probably because Dumont had a history of gassing out, and I thought Ladd would just be able to outwork her, break her down and finish her late, or Dumont would be able to punish Ladd for a bad striking defense on the feet and just knock her out. So maybe at the time that bet felt okay, but looking back since, obviously Dumont's gas tank has held up so much better in her last few fights. And yeah, this was a brutal loss, very unlucky. Yeah, some of those bets I can see why I placed them. Others I regret them a little bit. What can you do, man? But hopefully we're on the comeback trail. Fingers crossed. So yeah, what we'll do now, let's go through prop bets and over-unders for tomorrow's card. See what we could dig up. Let's do it. So I'm going to be typing these into the site as I go, just so I don't forget what they are. So let's start off with the main event. So what I like to do is, so that I don't let the odds influence me, before I look at the props, I like to kind of think in my head what the most likely outcome is, and then I'll see what the odds on those are. If the odds on those aren't great, then I'll have like a look if anything looks crazy to me. That's kind of like how I do props. So when I think about the Volkov-Rosenstrike fight, I think, well, the problem with props is, right, is what I always, like my approach to props, like I say, I've been getting destroyed on props lately, so maybe this isn't the best strategy or the best advice. But the way I look at props is, it's so hard predicting the outcome of MMA fights and being profitable in terms of like who's going to win or lose. Everyone online, on Twitter, everything, everyone, like, you go on Twitter, man, apparently everyone's a profitable gambler, right? Everyone talks big balls about making money betting MMA, everyone's profitable. But the fact is, we know it's fucking really hard. Like, if you just make a slight loss betting any sport or float around break even, that's a massive achievement, man. Being profitable on sports betting is like one of the hardest things to do in the world. So the way I look at props is, it's hard enough being profitable on pre-fight bets when you've only got two outcomes to consider. It's really, really hard when you then add loads of variables into the mix with props, because it's such a chaotic sport. So much can happen that it's very difficult to not only predict who's going to win, but the specific method of victory. So my approach to props has always been try and find ones that the odds are very wide on, and try to capitalize more on the chaos of MMA than going for the super obvious stuff where the odds are like really short. So for example, you know, something really obvious on this fight could be Rosenstrike by knockout or TKO, but then we know the odds on that are probably going to be pretty short. So maybe smarter to look for something a little bit more obscure, but it's still reasonably likely to win. Maybe like Volkov by decision, because we know Rosenstrike's super passive, super tentative. Volkov doesn't have too much power in his hands, and if Volkov doesn't use a grappling heavy game plan and the fight were to go the distance, because of how much of a low volume striker Rosenstrike is, Volkov would probably win a decision. So even though Rosenstrike by knockout is probably more likely than Volkov by decision, the odds on Volkov by decision are like way better. Might get a better risk to reward ratio on that. But the problem with that strategy is, obviously I've been getting killed with that strategy lately, so maybe it's not the smartest thing to do. So Rosenstrike by knockout at TKO, see 3.0 plus 200. I don't like that. The odds are really short. What about Volkov by decision? I need good odds. Yeah, they're terrible odds. People already think, you know, I assumed I honestly assumed that this would be like 6.0, 7.0, like plus 500, plus 600. I'm very surprised how short those odds are. So those odds were awful as well. This one is interesting to me. That's the kind of prop I would shoot for. Because obviously Rosenstrike is so bad on the ground, it wouldn't take much to submit him. But then is Volkov the kind of guy that when he gets takedowns, he looks for stoppages through ground and pound or submission, right? Because if he just looks for ground and pound, obviously makes no sense to bet him by submission. One there. Yeah, submission wins earlier in his career, but looks to me like the kind of guy that would probably just go for a finish with ground and pound if he did get the fight to the ground. So yeah, this one looks a bit dead for props. There's nothing there I really like. And let me know if you guys have got any ideas, but I don't like the odds on any of them props really. And pop that over there. Let me know if you guys got any ideas. Let me know if you guys have got any ideas. But I don't like any props there. And obviously the odds on the unders are really bad as well. So no, they're not. I got confused with the Glover Jiri odds. Yeah, I don't have a strong feeling about whether this one goes the distance or not either. I think if Volkov comes in with a grappling heavy game plan, he's very likely to finish Rosenstrike on the ground, because Rosenstrike's so bad on the ground he struggles to defend himself. Rosenstrike is dangerous on the feet, but he doesn't pull the trigger that much. And Volkov's only been KO'd like twice in something ridiculous like 40 pro fights. So even though Volkov's not great defensively and he is on a decline, it is still probably a bit of a stretch to say it's really likely he gets knocked out here. So yeah, I don't like the over-under on that one either, man. Let's move on from the main event. Let's go to Ige Evloev. So again, I'm not looking at the odds. So the props that are interesting to me on this one would obviously be Ige by knockout or Evloev by decision. And also I do like the thought of Ige to win in round 3, because we know Ige carries big knockout power deep into fights. And if you watch Evloev's fight against Dawodu in particular, he was really sloppy, really tired, sitting duck to the knockout in that 3rd round. So I'd be interested to see what the odds on Ige to win in round 3 are. So what are we looking at? So Evloev by decision, I'm assuming is really bad odds. Yeah, terrible. Can't touch that. Ige by knockout. Wow. Okay, yeah, straight away I love that prop. Ige by knockout, 10.0 plus 900. That is the exact type of prop bet I want. Those odds are crazy. Like, I understand Evloev's bet never been knocked out before, but he's never fought anyone that hits as hard as Ige before. That is the exact type of prop bet that interests me. So let me just type this one in. That one's perfect. We love that. I love that prop. And look, it loses a big percentage of the time, right? But there's undeniable value on that with how hard Ige hits. He's got the power to put away anyone in the division. He's only got to land clean hard one time. There's other ways he can win by knockout or TKO. You know, Evloev could get disqualified. Evloev could get injured in the fight. He could blow his knee out. He could get a bad cut from a crazy spinning shit elbow that lands or something. Doctor could stop the fight by cut. There's so many ways this bet can win. That is the exact type of prop I love. Crazy. 10.0, that is mental. That's big time value. And David said David likes the Ige by knockout TKO as well. What I also want to see is round 3. Yeah, this is crazy. Look at these odds. Why? Can anyone tell me why Ige is getting no respect in this fight? Why is Ige getting no respect in this fight? I love this one as well. How can you not bet that? Ige in round 3, 30.0. It loses a huge percentage of the time. But you don't need to win many bets like that to be a bigly over the long term. So I like that one as well. So pop that one into the database. Can't believe the odds on that. 30.0. That is mad. And those are the kind of props I love. Are they likely to win? No. But you're trying to capitalize on the chaos of MMA. And you don't have to win many bets like that to be profitable long term. Although I am getting fucking killed on props. But to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of props. So that one's cool. The other one that does kind of interest me a little bit is Ige by decision. I think the odds on that are also generous at 6.0 because if he does use his grappling in reverse to actually try the step takedowns and try to work his way back up to his feet rather than just lay on his back like he did against Zombie, I think he stands a great chance of winning the fight by decision because of how big his advantages are on the feet. However, the odds between Ige to win by decision and Ige to win straight, they're not, like, there's not a huge difference. So you're probably just better off adding more money to Ige straight than taking the prop on him to win by decision. That's how I would feel about that. There's not too much of a bump in the odds there, you know. So let's now take a look at Almeida Trizano. Oh, we didn't take a look at the over-under either. Do you know what? Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I don't really like the over-under on that either. So, Trizano, Almeida. The only bet that I really would consider on this one is Trizano by decision. And I'm guessing the odds are awful. Yeah, they are. There's nothing else I like on this because Trizano is reasonably skilled enough to defend himself on the ground if Almeida did get the fight to the ground. Like, Almeida's ground game doesn't look like anything special. Trizano's striking defense is really, really good. So I don't see Almeida finishing Trizano on the feet, even though Almeida is very aggressive. And I don't think it's very likely Trizano gets a finish. Like, he could because the skill gap is big. But I don't think Trizano's likely to get the finish because he just doesn't have that killer instinct. And Almeida seems like a tough fucker. So I'm going to give that fight a pass on props. So Silva versus Battaglio. So like a lot of fights on this card, this one's going to be tough because we don't know very much about Silva. There's not much recent footage available on it, but maybe we can use that to our advantage because the bookies aren't really going to know what to expect from her either. So maybe we get some crazy wide props on this one. If I was going to look for a long shot prop on this, if you guys watch my breakdown video for this fight, I showed a bit of footage of Silva fighting off her back against Sidi Rocha, and she was very active off her back. So maybe Silva by submission, because we know Battaglio gets really tired as fights wear on, and she's not very good on the ground. So what are the odds on Silva by submission? Terrible. They're too short, man. We know that only something like 27% of fights end by submission, so I want far better odds than that, especially when you know, we're not really sure if Silva's going to be hunting for the submission or capable of submission because we don't know a lot about her. That was the first thing that jumped out at me. The decision odds on both girls probably going to be pretty bad. Yeah, they are. Yeah, I'll probably dodge that one as well. Give that one a miss. Let me know if you've got any ideas though, guys. Let me know if you got any ideas, man, on any of these props, on these fights I'm skimming over. What's up, Joseph? Good to see you, Joseph Shoddy, mate. Thanks for stopping by, mate. Joseph is saying Ige got exposed pretty bad in the grappling department versus Zombie. Yeah, I can't believe how bad he looked on the ground, man. For someone to spend so much time training at AK with Khabib, it was unbelievable to see how bad he looked on the ground. But I also think that I don't think it was all a lack of technical ability that led to him looking so bad against Korean Zombie. I think a big part of it was performance anxiety as well. Like, Ige's always been easier to take down, always pretty weak off his back, but in between rounds, like some of the stuff he was saying to his corner where like he can't really get going and stuff, I think for whatever reason he just kind of crumbled under the pressure of that fight, and I don't know why. Because I can understand a guy like Ige giving up cheap takedowns if his takedown offense is bad. I get that. But what was strange to me about the Zombie performance was how much he accepted being on his back. Like, he didn't really work to get back up to his feet, barely at all. That was strange to me. Because we know he can. You know, which is one of the reasons why I'm taking a gamble on him against Evloev at big dog odds. I know he's capable of more. And maybe he shows up and performs terribly like he did against Zombie again. But we know he's better than that, man. So, Menefield versus Mozarov. So, there is a bit of footage available on Mozarov's takedown offense and ground game, and it looks awful. I'm not sure if Menefield is the type of guy to hunt for a submission, but if the fight goes to the ground, it will not be difficult to put Mozarov away. Like, if you look at Mozarov's record, that has now been absolutely decimated. He was like, when I did the breakdown for this fight earlier this week, he was like 27 and... He's 25 and 7? 19 and 12 now. But if you look at his losses, a lot of them are due to submission. Bulldog choke. I mean, it's not good getting submitted by a bulldog choke, right? How often do you see guys get submitted by bulldog choke? It's not a submission that high-level guys ever get caught in, and that wasn't that long ago, only back in 2019. And you see, look at all these losses. Knee bar, arm bar, guillotine. Guillotine, guillotine, arm bar, rear naked choke. So, I've seen this guy on the ground. If you watch his fight in Titan, which has been deleted from his record. Why have they deleted that fight from his record? So this doesn't... Oh, no, there it is. There it is. So if you watch this fight, I think it was this fight, but he looks super low level on the ground. Now, how likely is Menefield to go for submission? So Von Flue choke. Rear naked choke. Not too likely, but it looks like he might favour ground and pound. But we'll see what the odds are on Menefield by submission. Not great, man. They're not great. They're not great. They're not what I would have liked. If it was like 9.0, 10.0. I don't really love 6.0. Menefield inside the distance. Terrible. What's funny is, earlier in the week, Menefield was like a 1.67 favourite. Minus 149. And now, his odds have obviously got decimated after the whole scandal over Mozarov's record broke, and now even Menefield inside the distance is worse odds than that. Joseph is saying, I agree, that was the biggest fight of his career up to that point. I think Zombie's experience really played a huge factor too. Yeah, and you know what? Like, Zombie had the element of surprise on his hands. Like, you never see Zombie grapple ever. Or it's very rare. Like, you can't say ever, but very rarely does Zombie grapple. And he might have caught Dan Ige off guard, whereas Evloev, you know exactly what to expect from him. You know? So, obviously, fight doesn't go to a decision is the over-under I'll be looking at on this one. Odds are unplayable there. So, next fight. Osborne Adeshev. So, Adeshev has been rocked, dropped, wobbled, or knocked out in every single one of his UFC fights so far. So, the one I would be looking at here is Osborne by knockout. Knockout a TKO. He got dropped by Benoit, dropped by Sumaderji, knocked out by Tyson Nam. And we know Osborne hits hard. So let's see what the odds on that are. Osborne by knockout again, bad odds. Nothing else really jumping out at me on that one. We know Osborne does slow down a lot as fights wear on, but I don't like Adeshev to win in round 3 because just like Trezano, he doesn't really have the killer instinct. He does look like a bit of a decisionator. Like, if Osborne did get tired, I wouldn't really trust Adeshev to really make him pay. So, Herig Kovalkiewicz. Obviously, this one's likely to go the distance. I don't have a strong feeling about the over-under on this one. Actually, yeah, I don't really like the over-under on this fight either, because Adeshev does look to be pretty chinny. But then because he looks to counter-strike and doesn't engage much, he doesn't put himself in that much danger. So maybe he does bounce around on the outside and counter-strike like he did against Sumaderji and Benoit, and it goes the distance. But at the same time, Osborne could ding him and get a finish. So the odds on the over-under there are probably pretty accurate as well in that even money odds range. Obviously, this one's likely to go over. Odds are too steep. Both girls win by decision, steep odds, so that one's dead from a live betting point of view. De Silva Selecki. Let's have a think about this one. I do like... Man, the props on this card are tough, you know. Props on this card are tough. Props on this card are very tough, man. Nothing I really like on that one either. I was going to say, because both guys slow down a lot as the fight progresses, they're both going to be pretty vulnerable to being finished in round 3. But I don't know which guy would be more likely to get the finish. Probably Selecki. But rather than picking Selecki or Silva to get the finish in round 3, I quite like the idea of just betting the fight to end in round 3. We see if, and because obviously Yakovlev wore De Silva down and finished him in round 2. Probably a little bit more experience now. See, he got finished by Nicholas Motta in round 3. Both De Silva and Selecki slow down a lot. So, odds of 12.0, 16.0. We'll meet in the middle, go odds of 14.0. I do quite like that. Just because whenever you've got two guys that are really tired, or not two guys that are really tired, but two guys that get really tired as the fight wears on, if one of them gets like super duper tired and can't defend himself anymore, the other one might be able to like... get the finish in round 3, you know. Like, I don't love that bet, but with both fighters being able to contribute to it winning and the odds being big and juicy, I think it's worth a shot. So we'll pop that one in as well. Yeah, for sure, man. David's just saying that all the money coming on Menifield is legit wiki capping, because, like David's saying, right, the difference in record doesn't change what we saw in, you know, Mazarov when we researched the fight. You know, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. You know, he's still the same guy. I think this was, again, I do think this fight is more likely to go the distance, but at the same time, you've got two guys with a bad gas tank. If one of them gets really, really tired and can't defend themselves anymore, you know, the over-unders sometimes, or quite often, are quite tough. They seem that way on this card as well. So Jackson Argueta. This one might be tough again. So Jackson has a huge advantage on the ground over Argueta. But I don't know a lot about Argueta's submission defense. He just hasn't fought a particularly high level of opponent. We'll see what the odds on Jackson by submission are, though. That's like the first thing jumping out at me. But I'm guessing the odds aren't going to be good. They're terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I wouldn't go for anything else on that one. I don't know enough about Argueta's submission defense either to be able to fire on the over-under on that one. So that's another pass. So, man, this is brutal for props and over-unders, this card. So Benoit Saint-Denis and Nicholas Stoltz. What am I liking on this one? Nothing really, man. We were talking in the breakdown video for this fight how there's just not a really good quality of footage on these two guys to be able to get a read on this one. So I don't actually have a strong feeling on this fight at all. So I'm not even going to look at the props on that one. There's just not enough good quality footage available to really put some thought into that one. So Johnny Munoz against Tony Gravely. Right, the bet that I really want on this one is Munoz by submission. Because the guy is legit as fuck on the ground, an absolute ninja. And Gravely is really, really susceptible to being caught in nasty submissions. I'm really hoping that the bookies don't reflect that in the odds. Munoz by submission. Terrible odds. Motherfucker. They got that one sewn up as well. Yeah, this is a rough card for props, man. Rough cards, and I don't like the over under on that either. Right, Melina Zumagulov. I think this one's quite likely to go the distance. Melina decision 2.50, Zumagulov 4.0. Don't like that one either. What are the odds on fight to go to decision? I don't love it enough to bet it at those odds. We know Melina's got big knockout power from his fights from before he came to the UFC. Again, there's not that much footage available on Rinat Fakhretdinov, so I'm not going to go for a prop on that. I don't have a strong read on that one. And then Blanchfield versus Aldrich. The bets that I like on this one are Aldrich by decision, but I'm guessing the odds aren't going to be much better than Aldrich to win straight, so it might not be worth placing it. Aldrich by decision 7.0, 8.5. You may as well just bet Aldrich straight. Actually, no. It depends what odds you can get, right? You can get up to 8.0 is about the average. Between 7.0, 8.50. Yeah, props are tough, man. I am going to take Aldrich to win by decision if you can shop around at 8.0. But props are a bit, like Joey said, a bit tough on this one. Okay. I think that is everything, guys. What was it? 8.0 average, 7.0 to... Wait a minute, no. What would the average? 7.0 to 8.50. Average is going to be like 7.5080, right? Anyway, I think that's it for this stream, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, man. It's been my first one in a while, and it was a lot of fun, man. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys. Just like, it's way more fun researching these fights together. It is grueling when you do every single fight, but it's been really nice coming back and doing this one on like a really interesting matchup. And you guys helped me out bringing up some great points, like David bringing up that point about, you know, varying systems and styles we might see from Jiri. And I think it was a short username, GR. Was it GR? I really like what GR said. GR, that's right. Really like what GR said about how Jiri poses way more of a threat to someone like Glover than a Thiago Santos, because Thiago Santos is coming with big wide power hooks, whereas, you know, Jiri is throwing a much more diverse range of strikes. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching, man. Thanks a lot for your help as well, clearing up the spam. You guys are a lifesaver. Like, in the heat of the moment, in the pressure, I wouldn't even thought of mods. So HLB, you saved my life there, mate. I really appreciate it. HLB, send me an email as well, man. Long time no speak. Send me an email, dude. Please, dude. Send me an email. And we'll talk soon, dude. And Night Matern, thanks for your help, mate. Nice Joey, thanks a lot for your help. Night David, Night Matern, Night Paul, Night Joseph, and Night Gucci, mate. Take care, Taz. Who am I missing? Everyone that's still out there. Nice when Eric Betts fights. I go check out Eric. Yo, check out Eric Betts Fights channel as well, man. Check out his channel. I don't really watch too much MMA content, but I'm going to check out Eric's channel right now. Check it out, man. There it is. Nice one, Eric, dude. Anyway, take care, everybody. Have a great weekend. I'm going to do these streams again soon, man. We'll do the Zhang versus Joanna fight soon, and we'll do the Santos and Shevchenko fight as well. So nice one, everyone. Love you guys. Take